Apocalypse.
You know, the funniest thing is, I actually think that was on the hot mic, because that's kind of how, for some reason, OBS software has a little border area right before the live button on YouTube goes, so that might have actually made it in there. So anyway, hey there, everyone. I'm Adam, and yeah, we're doing more Battletech. We're doing more war crimes.
This one is it's a special kind of war crimes because it's often civil war crimes. This is I'm Techpriest, and with us tonight is Greg. Say hello to the nice people, Greg.
I am slightly intoxicated.
That's a bit of an understatement.
Greg thought he'd have some booze, and when we asked him how much, he just said yes.
Yeah, so he actually has a very big supply of, is it the good stuff or is it the rot gut?
Fucking hell. Let me look at, okay, I'm currently having some platinum ×7 distilled extra smooth vodka.
He's living it fancy, and it hit him and it hit him quicker than he thought. Speaking of getting hit quicker than you thought, and bloodshed and tears,
the Free Worlds League,
Janos
masters
Marik.
of it.
I love watercolors. I'm not gonna lie, it's an art that I feel like should be brought back. I know art's cyclical, so it will one day, but it's gonna be done on computers, and it's gonna look shit.
The color art for these books on the cover is really quite good. It's not perfect by any stretch, but it is quite good.
It also does depend on the scan.
Yeah. This is a decent scan. I wouldn't say it's an ideal one, but it's pretty solid.
Yep, so Janos Marik, Free Worlds League.
And then you can see where it is in the inner sphere, along with
Yep, here's the map of the inner sphere. The not shaded part is, well, the Free Worlds League.
Yes, so the Free Worlds League, if we're going by definition, is, if I remember correctly, anti-spinward and rimward. Though I might be mixing up spinward and anti-spinward. That's the only bits.
See, all I heard is...
Well, when you're talking about how to define where you are in the galactic plane.
I get the concept, but yeah, visualizing it, all I hear is the AOL dial-up noise.
Fair enough. So
there's 4 writers. They even have special titles like Adventure Architects.
Adventure Architects, the editor-in-chief, the senior editor, the editorial assistants, various production staff.
They have a specific person who specializes in designing uniforms. You don't see that anymore.
Who designed the uniforms and the coloring, which
you don't see that anymore in a game.
He just did little doodles of army men, and they just said, "Okay, that looks good. Thank you, Derek."
You don't ever see that again. Yeah, it is Civil War time, Holtz.
The Free Worlds League is... I have to say this. I am very much a fan of the Free Worlds League in terms of successor states. They have a lot of my favorite mech designs. They have this weird sort of sense of like the most dysfunctional family you can imagine that still somehow, does something. And it's also extremely large in terms of the successor states. It's not as big as like the Combine or the Commonwealth or the Federated Suns, but it has its own charm to it in just how weird that this state has actually survived feels like.
I mean, the introduction kind of phrases it best. The study of the Free World League is a study in paradox. Though divided internally, the League presents a unified front to the other successors. The League is essentially mercantile-oriented, but is eminent in quite a few fields in science and technology. And in addition to that, this is the one where the concept of democracy is closest to being a real thing. And conversely, it's also the period of the place where the most dictatorships and civil wars and actual just straight-up sectarian violence comes from.
Yes, the Free Worlds League is like people always go on about the Federated Suns are a democracy. No, the Federated
No,
Suns
they
aren't
never
really
were.
as
It's literally fucking House Davian. We read that to you. It took a couple generations, but they straight up became a standard monarchy.
yeah, a parliamentary monarchy, but
With some, but more on the Prussian model, where any form of democracy is just kind of there.
yeah, it's a democracy of the nobility. The Free Worlds League has the principle basically of one planet, one vote, and there's 333 planets.
Which,
I
that
want
actually does sound like it makes a lot of sense. 333. The
the
problem is, though, what happens if on the planet the election gets bloody? Which one of those representatives
exactly,
do you pick?
and not only on top of that,
Yeah.
there's feuds in between different blocks of planets within the Free Worlds League
Yeah, some of them are like,
over
no, we can't allow you to get into our coffee trade, so we're going to send a couple of lances of mechs to destroy your shipments.
like I'm just imagining a fire starter going into like a coffee plantation and just like roasting all the beans.
Yeah,
That
and,
would probably
and
actually sell
conversely,
pretty
you
well.
have like planetary drug cartels,
A little
just
less so,
straight up.
but
No, can't you see like a free world's representative essentially being Pablo Escobar, big ass cigar in mouth, giant kaiju reptiles that he feeds the people who snitch on him too.
yeah. The other thing to note is that the Free Worlds League is probably the biggest economy in the Intersphere.
Which is saying a lot because this is written during the time where the Federated Suns and the Commonwealth have personal union, and they're still matching them.
They're just about the personal union. They're about as strong as the Commonwealth itself. They're a bit I'd say that they're a bit more dynamic in that their trade is a little more various than the Lyrans. The Lyrans are richer, but the economy and production of the Free Worlds League is nothing to be sneezed at. They might not have Hesperus, but they've got quite a few mech facilities like Irian and Irian mostly. Irian's a huge producer.
Basically,
Um,
the planets that the multiple nukenings did not destroy.
yeah, they have several of those, and they also just have a good economy in general.
The
The
FWL Civil War o'clock, yeah.
oh yeah, like they kind of go into there. At the time of the setting, there's sort of the Captain Pact and the Federated Commonwealth are kind of about to throw down. So the Captain Pact is essentially, if I'm remembering the name of it right, uh is House Liao, House Kurita, and House Marik kind of all getting together and saying, if the Steiners and the Davians actually merge together, the resources of House Steiner suddenly get actually competent leaders, and that's really dangerous.
Yep,
We
it's
can't allow that to happen.
as one of our regular viewers Holtz mentions. It's not the House Merrick has more liquidity because of their trade. Steiner's industry is what's the problem.
Yeah.
Like the Federated Suns, yeah, they're really good all rounders. They have some pretty developed worlds, but a lot of it's backwater. Steiner's the opposite, more industrialized worlds, but very poor management.
Oh
Combine the
God.
two, and things are terrifying.
Yeah. Meanwhile, House Merrick is just flexible. That's one of their biggest advantages.
See, yeah, on the one hand, like 20 worlds might spontaneously try to assassinate the current leader, but on the other hand, the moment some idiot tries to invade, those 20 worlds will back that leader even if they hate their guts.
Exactly. And they'll back them to the hilt as well. That's one
Because
of
because otherwise their coffee trade and coffee interference operations would be destroyed.
yeah, that's the other thing about the Free Worlds League that I like is that it's very much the sort of like, you know how it's almost like the United States in a way. Like we'll shit talk another state, and then suddenly the Euros come in and talk about like, oh, whatever, and we're just like, shut the fuck up.
Well,
Like,
there's also kind of a bit of beauty in that one of despite because it's so fractious and broken kind of internally, you can get a lot of fingers in a lot of pies that you otherwise wouldn't.
yeah, and it's also a fun place to play around with. Like if you want to make a group of like mercenaries from a various group of like houses that's doing, maybe not technically war crimes on another member state of the Free Worlds League, and you want to do that, sure. You want to play a game that's the Free World League merchants are trying to expand into what's going on out in the periphery. That's great. They've got a border with the Magistry of Canopus, which is, Space Vegas.
Oh, here's another reason why House Marik wins. Federated Suns is not a federation. That's true.
That is very
Commonwealth
true.
isn't a Commonwealth. Also true.
The Free Worlds League is actually a league of free worlds.
Yeah,
They have a
Capellan
parliament.
Confederation. Oh, hell no.
Oh, God. Well,
No.
it was the Capellan hegemony for a while. Then they decided to call it the Capellan Confederation, and then it didn't work out too well.
Hegemony makes more sense. They actually had a more accurate name.
Yeah.
Poor Janos, if it wasn't for who the other House Lords were, he'd have been the greatest House Lord of his time.
Yeah.
For all the idiocy that was the Jihad, the word of Blake went to the FW, the Free Worlds League, for a good reason. It was the only state open enough. Yeah.
Yeah, the Free Worlds League is extremely tolerant to basically, like, if you're a refugee, they'll take you in. They'll put you on a planet, and if there's a civil war on that planet because of the refugees, they'll sort of just shrug and be like, they'll sort it out. Like,
as long as it doesn't spill onto other planets.
There's an entire book plot. I think it's called, like, God, what is it? Like, what? Anyway, but it involves the word of Blake when they relocate to Gibson, and it's basically the author's commentary on the Vietnam War.
Oh, God.
The word of Blake sounds like a really bad Book of Eli ripoff.
The word of Blake is a group of religious fanatics that think that ComStar, as first head, was like a divine prophet.
Basically, it is the Techpriests of Battletech.
They are the Techpriests of Battletech.
They're a little less superstitious and a little more corporate douchebag.
They're a little more. These are the really religious superstitious ones.
These are full on. These are full on. Make penis into robot.
Yes, when they start the Jihad because they'd expected this prophecy of theirs to come through, and they had a bunch of gifts to give the new Star League. That, like, they had a ship, a warship in orbit they were going to give them. They had their cyborg army on it. It was, like, ready to be revealed that, this is our contribution to this glorious realization of Blake's vision. And then it all collapses, so they throw the most massive fucking hissy fit of all time and decide that, you know what, fuck it, fuck all of you. You don't deserve to live because you ruined the vision of Blake.
If I ever ran a Mech Warrior RPG, it'd be in Free Worlds. Like, yeah, I mean, honestly, if I was gonna run a Time for War, that's what I'd do.
Yeah, it's a very solid area. There's a lot of options you can play with. There's a lot of intra-state rivalry within the Free Worlds League. It's quite good.
And last, before we move on, because otherwise we're gonna just be reading chat all the time, which is good. I like doing it, but
Yeah, we do have to do something else.
Flexible and somewhat decentralized in comparison to other houses. So would Yugoslavia be an okay comparison?
You have no idea how close to Yugoslavia mixed with Austro-Hungary mixed with the United States the Free Worlds League is. Oh boy, we're gonna get into it.
Those don't sound like things that go together.
They don't.
They don't, and that's why it's so fun.
So here's some 80s backpackers just hanging out on the mountain.
That's Janos Marik.
If you couldn't tell, chat, I'm the straight man in this compilation.
I love how, to remind everyone of who he is, he's got a fucking eagle tattooed on his forehead.
So what actually happened is Janos would eventually be found trying to create a cult to murder a famous Capellan actress. And now he's in prison for life. Sorry, he just has strong Charlie Manson vibes with that tattoo.
He does look like Charlie Manson.
So the history, God. Because we need to get on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Free Worlds League is a collection of people separated by common interest. That's the introductory quote.
It's perfect. This quote here is all you need to know.
The difficulty of documenting the history and the culture of the Free Worlds League is paradoxically rooted in the very openness of its society. The Capellan Confederation, for example, is a police state that offers us few sources of information. So any leak that can be found will be a fountain of information. In a diverse, loosely knit confederation such as the Free Worlds League, although the numbers of sources are legion, only a trickle of information is available from any one source, or, not completely full of bullshit. So
So these are written from the point of view, because remember, these guys are very much neo-feudalists, so they're kind of staring at the Free Worlds League going, "Rah!"
No, this is ComStar writing this. So they're kind of just sizing them up and trying to figure out, like, what the fuck is actually happening.
How did this happen?
How did this happen? How can we exploit it? Is the other thing that ComStar. Because remember, ComStar is the one that nudged the Succession Wars to keep going. ComStar are shifty bastards.
All right.
Well, by nudging the Succession Wars to get going, you got to remember that they control the flow of information across the inner sphere. So if they want to keep something from being known, they can do it pretty easily.
I'm aware. I'm just imagining just gifs of the great houses slamming their heads on the nuke button repeatedly, and it just, you know.
Yeah, I love their original emblem, by the way. It's just so hokey. You scroll down a little more.
Look at that.
It's to represent the Marik Commonwealth, the Andurian, the Duchy of Andurian, and like the Regulus something. I can't remember the name of it. We'll get to it.
No, it's just Regulus, American, Andurian. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but the fun bit here is that it is the oldest of the successor states. It was founded in 2271, and I love this opening quote. The attitude brought about by this loose alliance was summed up by one of the original members of the League Parliament, Sir Brian Blakemore, who said the foundation of the League just kind of sounded like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, just a good idea at the time.
The Mariks are also probably they've been incredibly important from the start, which is interesting considering that it's kind of democratic thing, and just everybody's just sort of decided that, you know what, like the Mariks just seem to do the best at being Captain General, so we're just going to keep electing them. It's that simple, and
Yeah.
because nobody else can agree on any other candidate.
Well, let's see. The Mariks were always interested in trade, like Steiner, and that's
Yes.
why the two get along like a house on fire in the bad
That's
way.
why yeah, it's funny because they probably could have allied very well with the Steiners. It's just that they're both competing merchant
They're too much
confederations,
alike to
basically.
each other. There's too much
Yeah.
likeness.
Meanwhile, they fucking hate the Liao because the Liao have tried to take Andurian multiple times. So go fuck them. And nobody likes Kurita. It's just simple as that.
Actually, this leads to the comedy of these people, the Mariks, which are very mercantile. They're actually not super inclined for combat. They've had produced decent generals, so on, and awful creatures.
They've produced some of the best generals the Inner Sphere has ever seen.
Which is funny. And they hate House Kurita, but they entered into an alliance with them.
Well, yeah, out of practicality. You've got to
at this point, yes.
If you look at it, so here we go. The first, the ones that
this is the Capitan Compact right here. They go into detail about this here.
Yeah.
So they go into details about the early space exploration.
Yeah, this is a bit shorter than the Davian one, which was quite in depth on the whole thing.
Because Davian is their Ultramarines / Blood Angels.
Yeah, it was also they didn't cover it as much in other books. So the House Marik's origins, I love this, by the way. Revolution, Mariks, and you. If you scroll down to
I know,
page
I'm just
8.
Looking at some basic details here. Everyone in Terra wanted to leave, believing the stars offered them a second chance. I kind of wish they inserted like a bit of a Gundam shitpost there by just having someone scream, "Our souls will no longer be weighed by gravity."
Oh,
like
God.
Right there, just insert it right there, because
so yeah, the weirdest thing is that the Mariks are also probably the house that has an actual legitimate history that they can trace back to nobility on Earth, not like something that's kind of tenuous like Liao.
You mean the collapse of illusion right here?
If you scroll down,
sorry,
it's on the next page. The collapse of illusion is more of a talking about the collapse of the original Terran Alliance.
Oh, I apologize for interrupting. What were you going on before that?
The origins of House Marik. You scrolled past it, actually.
No, I didn't.
Marik
right
origins. Yep. Okay, now
dude,
you're on it.
Dude,
Sorry.
If you're looking at the stream, that's like 30 seconds behind. It's not gonna work on that.
Oof. Okay. So, sorry, but so the the important thing is, and I love this quote, it's like, it may be unfair to point out, well, the Marik family has a history that goes back to Eastern Europe's Middle Ages. So does the family of Vlad Dracul.
Because of course it is. You have
They
to go
they
that far
do
back.
they do in fact have that to be backed up. They were part of the
course they
Austro-Hung.
did. They spent a lot of effort like they did with all the other great houses, dude.
Yeah. They
did that with Davian, remember?
Yeah, Davian's was much less.
Much more spurious.
Yeah, this is actually like they were the Austro-Hungarians. They were the Habsburgs. They just changed their names to get out of the.
Oh, that is a good point, Holtz. The reason that that House America is currently okay with working with Korea is they don't share a border right now.
That's true. They don't.
That's why.
That's the only reason. But
yeah, they've been
I
around
do,
for the Middle Ages. They're literally the Habsburgs.
They are the Habsburgs. They are a branch house of the Habsburgs, which I kind of find neat.
And they just kind of emerged from out of nowhere. Just actually, they may not have renamed themselves. They might have just married into like Arabian Arabian lines
another
or something.
It's as simple as that. They've got the link. It's not exactly super important to them. It's more of like this is a kind of a bit of family.
Yeah, like
pride.
yeah, we've ruled stuff before, but honestly, our proper clan began with Charles Marik.
Yeah, which compare that to like the Davians, where they try to link it to a guy in like French nobility, and then like some other people that were really famous in Earth history, and it's just like yeah, we have blood connection to the Habsburgs, but we don't dwell on that.
I still call bullshit Korea can call actual lineage. I think they made that up out of desperation.
Korea can trace their lineage back to the guy that was in charge of the battleship force that got the snot kicked out of them by Taffy 3. That's it.
They can, but I still think that that's just desperation still. Like, we
Yeah,
need to prove we also have a lineage.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Marik is just like, well, yeah, we're related to the Habsburgs distantly. Who gives a shit? Our
like
family
everybody
started
is.
with Charles Marik. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
that's what matters, not the fucking Habsburgs.
Yeah. So they go in a little bit about like, so the Marik Commonwealth.
I like how they don't mention that they probably named the planet after Charles Marik, or maybe he was named after the planet.
Yeah. Does it matter?
No.
And so he proclaims the Republic of Marik in 2238 because
Charles
why the
Marik
fuck not?
was a master vote counter.
I love it.
Oh no, Klondike, it's back.
Oh no. Oh, don't worry, it gets defeated. Marik defeats it. Okay,
wow.
Oh, well, what happened? Oh god, they're ripping off the United States here. You have this is like if the Articles of Confederation told the United States Constitution, yeah, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, so there's a few other bits here, and so there's the Marik Commonwealth, there's the Federation Variante, and then there's
Carsagia, which had their own idea for unified constitution, which is closer to the actual U.S. Constitution.
Yep, and Charles...
that one failed, as did the hyper unitary Klondike one.
Yes, so he kind of balanced it out to arrange it so that he'd still be on top no matter what. And of course named the country after himself. What a brilliant man.
He's not above espionage.
Nope, he's a very practical ruler.
So he outed a dude for illegal land speculation, like the literal plot to a Scooby-Doo.
I know. Isn't that just great? But yeah, they talk a little bit about it, and then they even talk about some languages have basically died in this far in the future to some degree.
Yep.
Romanian,
the adoption of
Bengali,
English has
and
destroyed
Hindi.
a lot.
Yeah. They're not as commonly spoken. They kind of go back on this to some degree.
They go back on this because I know they bring back Hindi.
Yes, Hindi is still... They basically there's no fucking way that there wouldn't...
Like, mechanically, no, Hindi would probably stay around.
Yeah, I could see Romanian getting folded in.
Same with Bengali.
To English. Yeah, and Bengali into Hindi, but I can't see either of those two going too bigger. So they all get together and then they create a few other things to sort of get this whole unification idea rolling.
Well,
Where they
basically,
did,
they out a dude for illegal land speculation. There he is, petting his cat, trying to kill James Bond. And then after that, he manages to
the
get 20 other planets to kind of go, yeah, this is a great idea.
the Merit Commonwealth, we can do it. And then the Oriente family, the House Allison of the Oriente, also manages to get unified, much like Charles Marik does what he does, and another 20 worlds.
They brought back Hindi when they explored Regulus more and gave it a stronger identity.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the identity they gave Regulus was nuke happy as hell, but you know.
Okay, yeah, Regulus origin. So Salaj, earliest emigrates to this rimward area of space. They managed to just kind of cut their way up top.
Yep. And became a corporate state, basically.
No, I can see that. Like, I can see the nightmare corporate state.
Then became more of a dictatorship, and then we had good old Sir Humphreys, who actually managed to get everyone to kind of sit at the table and start the Treaty of Marik, which is what founds the Free Worlds League.
Like, yeah, you three guys need to get together because think about it like this.
Reasons.
One ape weak, many apes strong.
So, if you go into Humphrey's initiative, I love how they discuss how this actually went down, because it's so dumb. They don't know how to talk to each other all the time, and there's language barriers out the ass. Although Marik and Salaj are both fluent in English, they represented worlds with large numbers of people conversant only in Slovak, Hindi, Mongolian, and Romanian.
My question is how the hell Mongolian?
I don't fucking know, man.
Slovak
I
is
just love
also
it.
makes no sense, but you know, I could believe
it's
I can believe a Slovak planet. I can't believe
like
a Mongol
Slovak
planet.
world. I could sort of believe a Mongol planet if there was like a neo-Mongol empire that arose out of the collapse of the Soviet Union or some shit.
Oh, you mean? Oh no, I could believe it if you pulled a House Kurita sadness where they just
They just want
desperately
to
cling
return.
to they just like some crazy, mostly Chinese man, but with Mongol ancestry, claimed
Declares
the
himself
title.
the second coming of Genghis Khan.
Yeah, or some crazy Russian guy. Like you just bring
It's
Baron
just
von
Baron.
Sternberg.
that's the entire thing. So they had a major problem because there wasn't a single Mongolian Romanian translator.
Well, who would? Like they even mentioned less than like 60 years after this compact, the languages died out.
Yeah, they're just like, we just don't use those. It's just pain in the ass. Let's just not. We're just gonna use English because English is already commonly known and was the language of the old Terran Alliance. So there you go. Except for House Kurita, because Japanese is their official language.
Mongolian Romanian translator in the entire. Well, no shit.
I just love that.
And they decide, you know what? Screw it. Y'all speak in English.
Screw it. We're just speaking English. This is a pain in the fucking ass.
And it became the norm, except in House Kurita, because House Kurita desperately wanted to prove that they were totally purely Japanese.
Yes.
Even though they aren't.
We're not horribly opportunistic bastards.
To give you an idea, I think like weren't they partially Swedish too at this point?
Nope, that would be later.
Yes,
they would
Swedenese, the only Creole they bothered to actually invent
and invest any time in, which whatever. But yes, it took a while. That
no, Holtz. I'm not. You can't defend a Mongol planet. There's like maybe a million of them on this rock of a ball. This shit.
I mean, I can understand the Mongolians all wanting to leave Mongolia, but
I just
it doesn't make any sense to actually happen.
Romania can plausibly settle a planet or two.
So can Slovakia, barely.
Slovakia can barely do a planet. Mongolia, no. That'd be like saying, oh yes, the Luxembourgish dialect of German is spoken on these 8 worlds. Like, fuck off.
I mean, they do have a planet that was colonized by Beors in the
There's just enough Boers, though, especially if you include any Afrikaner speaker.
Yeah. They're incredibly racist, and then the clans come around and they decided that it's better to be incredibly racist towards the clans. Which I guess that's true, but
A lot of planets in Battletech have less than 1 million people on them. God.
yeah.
I know there's a lot of marginal and they spread out a lot, but this is just kind of makes me
It's why like the worlds like New Avalon and Tharkad and stuff are so important, because they have populations in the billions. Because they became the central hubs of empires.
Fair
so people
enough.
moved there.
It's just I'm so used to that other game that's dead that had populations in the hundreds of millions and billions and even a couple with a little bit under 1 trillion or 2.
Yeah, there are plenty of planets that do have millions of people on them. They're usually more important worlds. There's some marginal worlds where it's just like it's in our sphere of interest, so we've got like 2 million people on this planet.
What about
like,
Mongol LARPers? Yeah, that'd be fair enough. Like if you had like a
Yeah.
bunch of Kazakhs or something that just decided to channel their inner Genghis.
Yeah. I
Also,
do love
Swedenese existing because of Rasselhawk. No, it's just some weirdo wanted to combine Vikings with samurai. You know that there's someone at FASA that did that. That was their fetish. They wanted to give samurai Viking helmets and like broadswords.
Yeah, so they talk about the rule of 75 here, which is a basic thing where they decide that all their public documents, to prevent any sort of leaking, to prevent things from possibly boiling over, we're going to seal all of our personal documents, and they will all have to be published, but not until 75 years after our deaths. So that way, like, we don't have any big, major, shocking revelations that could just completely destroy everything we've built to so far.
So I'll give House Marik this. All three of them. I'll give them this. They're smarter than the Earth Federation, courtesy of the newer UC entries. I believe it's Unicorn Gundam that introduced the stupidity that was the Lapis treaty. If you're wondering what that is, I know we're going into the weeds, but this is fine. I get to talk about my giant robot.
This is
TV
lore
show.
ramblings.
But the Lapis
ramble.
Treaty was created when all of the nations of Earth post World War III gathered together and decided to create a world government whose plot and the guy they elected was the person from Brazil. And he came up with this massive space hippie treaty saying, yeah, man, when you go out in space, it's like yours. And especially like when the psychic people that I predict will come due to the new age, they will be able to have their full destiny up in space and it belongs to them, man. And the other delegates, just looking at this crazy Brazilian man, just decide to assassinate him and hide the original treaty rather than, frickin' burn it like I would.
Yeah.
And that's the plot of Unicorn Gundam. If it gets revealed, oh no, the Earth Federation gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Because it's an illegal government. It's like, it is strong Sovset like energy in it, and it's cursed.
I hate the UN. I hate the UN. I hate the UN. Yeah.
God bless the UN.
So yeah,
But
Rule
yeah,
75. This stuff ain't coming out until we're dead.
Yeah, to make sure that we're not going to have
because
all of
one
us
of our guys got
hating
destroyed
each other.
by Charlie Marik outing his land speculation deals.
Yeah, we're making sure that we're not going to have those problems. So they then go into like the details of the Parliament. So the Treaty of America assigned each of the heads of states a role in the new government. The President of Oriente, the Prince of Regulus, and the Captain General of Marik.
Here we go. Yeah, I see it.
This would become the really big turning point, is that Marik, by their nature, became known as the Captain Generals. They were the ones that would grant free, like words of marque, and also were the ones that fought the first war that they had to do, which was to take over the Stuart Commonalty, which was a small 6-league federation on their borders. Giuliano Marik completely steamrolled them. Just boom.
Yep.
And the Free Worlds League had expanded.
Military crisis on Terra.
Yes. So this is what happens when the Terran Alliance collapses into the Terran hegemony. The Trade League kind of the most of this guy named McKenna kind of blitzes all the worlds around and tries to bring them back into the fold after the alliance essentially collapsed and let the colonies go.
Because they
And
couldn't
then
hold on to them. And
yes,
this is the first time that one of the Mariks actually got appointed.
yes, to Captain General. This would actually become later on what was known the Ryerson Accords, where the Captain Generalship, the House Marik's vote is they get to refuse whoever is proposed for Captain General. They have to approve. So of course, this naturally means that they're most likely to approve themselves. There's times when they haven't, but usually that goes very badly for the Free Worlds League for some reason.
So,
Some
okay, the
reasons.
League Parliament declared a crisis. They appointed a Captain General, which, because Mariks were promised that, they got the hot seat.
Yeah.
They did a double deal with McKenna.
Mm-hmm. To maybe not attack us. Like we're willing to trade with you and recognize that you control Earth, but we're kind of doing our own thing over here, and you're harshing our mellow,
Basically,
man.
we have all of these potential outlets rimward towards areas that haven't been exploited as deeply.
Yeah, we're willing to
And
let
we
you
have
go
we have a couple of pretty well developed planets. You could lose millions assaulting us, or you can make billions.
just go a different direction.
And you can make billions by leaving us alone, and we just connect trade routes, and and tariffs towards you are pretty much lowered.
Yeah. So
And McKenna realized that was the smarter move.
So the age of growth is what they call the next one. Essentially, the league starts to just expand.
It's pretty easy to buy off the dictator of a planet or foster a revolution just by flooding the right amount of money.
Yeah.
They have money, they can spend it.
Yeah. Not only that, but they do it without really being super militarian.
Oh no, they literally controlled economically, similar to the Dutch in a way.
Yeah. It's quite interesting when we talk about the Curidans are incredibly they're going on a
Kurita will
military
salt the
streak.
earth, gas them all, and repopulate after cleansing the world.
Yeah.
Marik, on the other hand, no, they bring in gifts. They start building up businesses, aiding profits, and then after gaining
They'll
enough
intermarry
economic
into
control,
you
yeah, and eventually they'll gain just enough economic control to be like, hey, bro, do you think it's a good idea to join the league? And 9 times out of 10 they'll say yes, and the 10th time they'll just keep trying, or eventually just send in a force to get their assets back.
I love the next page where they talk about how they have there's always a dwarf food tester for House Marik.
Imagine Mongol Marians.
That would be fun, but that's just the clans. That's the clans, but with less good tech and thus less reason to exist.
Also more embarrassing.
Yeah, so much more embarrassing.
So yeah, other states kind of form due to Terra's resurgence, as well as
because
Marik
everybody
kind
realizes
of paving the way to making a successful non-Terran state.
Well, they'd already declared one, and they'd already gotten one set up by the time the Terran hegemony was formed, and the formation of the Terran hegemony is what compelled basically all the other successor states to form.
Because they
all of
had
a
a
sudden,
couple of examples.
Shit!
And McKenna's
also,
not stopping.
Shit! McKenna's not gonna stop.
Can't stop,
he's
won't
coming.
stop. There's no brakes on this murder train.
There's no brakes on the McKenna train.
And they mentioned that the best examples of these kind of new successors are Lucian Davian and Shiro Kurita.
Yes. Lucian Davian through diplomacy, and Kurita through
and occasionally some force, and Kurita basically just through force, because screw you.
Just because we're House Kurita, we're assholes.
We are a lineage, a descendant. It's in our genes to be assholes.
So yes, of course they all marry in, and then I love this. The conspiracy bears fruit, where they talk about their dwarf food taster. Are you ready for this name?
Their food taster, a dwarf named Haji Mohammed Kimbro.
What a name!
And he began to feel like he's gonna vomit.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh God, this isn't tasting very good. Like I feel sick. So
Imagine if, on the other hand, like it just turned out no, the food just was badly cooked.
I love that he kills one of the Mariks by like just putting glass in their food, because it's like, oh, he'd intentionally poisoned himself with arsenic so that they didn't suspect him.
He sprinkled liberal amounts of ground glass into Geraldine's last meal.
Never
Interesting.
captured. That's silly, really, but it involves a dwarf killing someone, so I mean, like, it's gonna be silly. The next bit is the start of the Age of Wars.
Yeah, Alan frees himself. So, like, this was a big gambit by Alan to get out of house arrest and basically take the throne.
Yeah.
Well, the captaincy, I should say.
Yeah.
Hard cut to crater that was Scotland.
Oh.
What happened? Why are the Scots dead? I forget.
No, there was an island off the coast of Scotland.
The
No, it
Isles?
was off the coast of Australia.
Which one of the
I think
Isles?
it was-
No,
I
it was
think
like
it
a
was
small
Orkney
island off the coast of Australia and another small one off the coast of Scotland that he
Orkneys, I
nuked
think.
from orbit to prove that he wasn't fucking around to the Terran government.
McKenna,
like,
McKenna or Palpatine, man.
McKenna.
McKenna, I'll fucking do it again.
I'll fucking do it again, man. Like, again, there's a reason why there were no brakes in the McKenna train. But yes, so the Age of War kicks off, and this is when the Andurian crisis hits off. Namely, that the Liaos are crazy bastards, and well, that's about the entire reason for this conflict. The
Bitches be crazy, bruh.
Yeah, the Compelling Federation ends up in a fight with them and mobilizes their military forces, which by this point, like, pretty significant. The Free Worlds League is basically running into a free-for-all with that, and then they also hit internal conflicts, and we get possibly one of the most important people in the history of the setting, which is Peter Marik.
Basically, Liao is setting to steamroller. The houses... Originally, there was mild issues with getting people inspired to fight. Because
which is why they tried to put... Yes, which is why they tried to put House Solage in charge of the Captain Generalcy, and it didn't go well. Peter Marik had lost a battle, so they kind of blamed him. He's going to become a dictator. We've got to get rid of him.
What happened was he lost. Yeah, he lost. Oh wait, no. The leader of House Marik, Peter Marik, was a member of Parliament. He vowed never to rejoin Parliament until he resolved the Andurian question once and for all, and he stormed out. And as the war continued to spread, the Free Worlds League began to fear the entire galaxy would become a free-for-all.
Well, that was the Age of War. It kind of was a free-for-all.
And they were actually trying to come to a deal with the Capellans, with House Liao.
Yeah, like, please stop trying to murder all of us over a woman, please, you fucking crazy bastard.
So that's when the Solage tried to take command. Effectively, since he wasn't really doing what he should have, because he really couldn't.
Yeah, he
didn't have the Free World's backing. He doesn't have an army to work with, really.
He didn't have the mandate of heaven. He lost the mandate of heaven.
He lost a battle, and it went.
Well, kind of mandate of heaven, but he lost a battle, but also
I'm making the joke. It's called a joke.
Yeah,
I know, but you're not wrong. He lost a battle, and on top of that, he just didn't have any troops because it's contributed by worlds. The worlds as a whole contribute. And most of them were like, "Fuck this, we're not doing this."
Well,
so he didn't have enough of an army.
Though. He did have enough of an army.
I'm reading it right here. Popular sentiment. They a lot of them were more than happy to leave the military aspect, but they also mentioned something. Oh, the Battle of Quamshu, but then okay, yeah.
So he lost that battle, which is what lost him the political title of Captain General for the moment.
Sorry, it's just
But
I thought that I thought they mentioned something that a lot of the oh, it's because I was reading the worlds how they leave it to Marik. I'm sorry.
yeah, you were
I'm
yes.
trying to help
So
summarize, but it's you kind of can't sometimes.
yes. So part of this is also that the Mariks, they also go into a bit that the Mariks have a tradition of military service from a young age. If you're in the line of succession, you're supposed to start military training. You start military training as young as 4, basically, where they start to teach you the basics. Because your job to the Free Worlds League is you are the Captain General. You
Well,
are the
yeah, like
military
we were
commander.
guaranteed this in the treaty. We're not likely to get out of anything else but that, other than maybe on Parliament. If
Yeah,
you're gonna be Captain General, or you have a chance, which you might, because hey, you might be number 25th in line, but don't worry, at least 10 of them will be fucking dead by the time you have a chance geting up there.
yeah. They'll either die in combat, be
Die in
assassinated,
combat, the
or
assassins
declare
will
their
get
own
them.
civil wars. So you're ready to go. Um,
Like, yeah,
I
you're
do
number
love
25, but by the time you're a teenager, you'll be number 15, and by the time you're an adult, you'll probably be in the top 5, kid.
Do you want to hear
Yeah.
a really dumb
Or
joke?
dead. Or dead.
Would you like to hear a really dumb joke?
Sure.
When I was young, do any of you remember The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody?
Oh
Or
my
The
God,
Life
yes.
of Zack? There's a time when they visit England, and the ditzy Asian girl finds herself, hanging out with one of the English royalties, and she says he's 18th in line for a throne. So if and then she names off being all are in Buckingham Palace and earthquake goes off, he'll be the king soon. I'm sorry, that's just what that reminds
It's
me
like
of.
that, but if that person in Sweet Life actually plotted to kill the 17 people in front of him.
Yeah, that's House Merrick. The other bit is that they also have a tendency to win, which
So,
is
So he's saying is all they do is win.
they
I don't
basically,
know.
yeah, they're able to win most of the time, which already that's like, hey, that's a pretty good qualification.
you're number 25 in the line to power, but don't worry, the line moves real quickly around these parts.
Hey, that's pretty good.
But yeah,
it's
what
also
happens
considered
is he
very
gets owned, so Lodge takes command, and just
then
afterwards, Peter, like, he wasn't terrible to
doubles
begin
down.
with, but he's on a
He
streak.
learned he learned from his mistakes and he just wrecks Liao.
Well, what happens is
Absolutely
he does a
wrecks
crazy,
them.
he does a crazy Batman style gambit, but like rushing deep into their lines and basically threatening, yeah, I'm crashing your homeworld, no survivors.
He just decides to do an island hopping except with planets. He's just gonna say fuck it. I'm just going to their
Supplies,
homeworlds.
fuck that. I'll just loot from their factories.
We're just gonna yeah. And of course and
it works,
like, oh,
because
fuck.
what
It
happens
works.
is Sion's like on the corridor right in front of Capella. He manages to get there, and then basically manages to pull off a victory. A really
It's like,
powerful one
The
that
question
crushed
is,
the fleet there.
is he able? The real question though, is he able to snag defeat from the jaws of victory?
no, actually.
He never was quite in the jaws of defeat, but he
No,
managed to punch the wolf in the face.
you didn't listen to me. Did he snag defeat from the jaws of victory? As
No.
in, did he somehow bumble it all up?
No.
No. Peter,
No, he
this is
won
why
big.
Peter,
He crushed their
big.
backup fleet and
he
basically
didn't
had
just win. Yeah, and he didn't just win big against the Capellans. Can we keep moving? There's a lot of book to go through.
I know. I just wanted to explain. Basically, he has Capella right where he wants it. There's nothing guarding it, and basically that forces the Capellans to give up.
Yeah. The other bit with this is that he ends up getting into a conflict with the Commonwealth, but he acquires a huge reputation boost that eventually gets him the Captain Generalcy back.
Because he won the war. It wasn't Salage.
Yeah. Salage did not win the war. He won the war. And on top of that, he's one of the driving forces behind the Ares Convention.
And on top of that, managed to rally a lot of smaller independent systems to the Free Worlds League. Because he managed
he's
to
like, we'll
throat punch
protect you.
House Liao.
Yeah, we'll protect you from the Capellans. We'll protect you from the Steiners. Let's go.
We'll sure as shit protect you from Kurita.
And then he was assassinated in 2422
Yeah,
because
but
Silaj
not
was
before
not
beating
happy.
the Commonwealth. Yeah,
Not before taking possibly like another dozen worlds. He blitzed the Lyrans in 2 years. Basically created a huge corridor through there and probably could have forced them to capitulate if he hadn't been assassinated.
well, on top of that, what happened was he was offered Captain Generalcy again during the Second War of the Commonwealth.
Yes.
He
Yes,
recognized
he was.
it as a poison chalice and said, nah, screw off. I'm never being a Captain General with Parliament managing my purse strings.
Yep.
And the
So
guy
the
they
war
replaced
powers.
him got his shit wrecked, and then he had to come in to bail him out, but then the assassin killed him.
Yeah. So then there's Terrence Marik, which is his second son. Didn't do quite as well as Dad, but he was pretty good. I mean, he
Managed
just
to
wasn't able to
basically
push them off.
destroy a fuckload of their military units
Yeah,
by
the
encircling
Lyrans.
them.
He did pretty well. He just couldn't get them off the planets. Then the problem was Ximena's. Well, there's
They go into more
there's some
details on the
problems.
Mariks. There's a lot of Mariks, I'm sorry.
There's a lot of fucking Mariks. I was about to say we're just gonna keep moving as fast as we can.
So there's another Peter, but then there's General Geralk. Fuck, that's a hard name.
Geralk Marik, who's kind of a moron. He actually gets crushed to death by the first one of the first deployments of the of battle mechs. The Lyrans, yeah, on Lorik.
He was also nicknamed the Bloodthirsty Giant.
And Geralk the Bloodthirsty. He was crushed to death by a commando, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Which is quite funny.
Yeah. Afterwards, they pretty quickly developed mechs because one of their captain generals got crushed.
Literally. Yeah, they also managed to capture. There's an entire series of short stories about this time in the BattleTech universe where the Battletech mech technology is just.
Oh, so we're going even. So what you're saying is I need to pull up my homework folder. Gotcha.
No, I'm just mentioning that as like if you want to look into that, they're fun little short stories about the proliferation of battle mech technology and the espionage and commando raids and things that were done to acquire this.
Doesn't the Free World Fleet get voting power too? I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Maybe.
If they don't, I wouldn't be surprised if they did because they kind of have a bit of an Athens theme going for them too. Not quite though.
Oh yeah. Then after then we get to one of my favorite
They
ones.
Get a lot of money.
Yeah, one of my favorite Mariks, Albert the Dwarf.
Albert the Great.
Albert the Great, also known as Albert the Dwarf. Because he was actually a dwarf. He was under 1.5 meters tall.
He was a short king. Come on, give him the proper name.
Subtitle?
He was a short king. Sorry.
What's the subtitle?
They're mentioning it's just above. It's you see where the fighter with the flames here?
Yeah.
The little flames on the fighter up above. Just if you look right to the right of that, his son by comparison was by many respects a comic figure. Where Byron had been tall and charismatic, Albert was a dwarf, standing under 1.5 meters tall, unfit for battlefield leadership, though he had a special griffin neck built for his diminutive frame.
I'm sorry about that. I couldn't see it.
Yeah, he was still a brilliant tactician, having learned.
You can't assume that I know exactly where it is. Sorry.
He was also a master of Go and became the next Captain General. If you look on the next page, on page 18, there's a picture of him under Albert Marik the Great. Yes, this is when he was much older.
He doesn't look like a short king. I brought it back, Greg. He's a short king.
Thank you for acknowledging I exist.
Sorry, I'm sorry about that.
We're sorry, Greg.
It's fine. I don't really understand this. It's fine. I'm having fun. You two explaining it to me. I'm oh my god! I'm the audience surrogate.
Yeah, you are. Congratulations, Greg.
It's always nice to have someone completely blind and uninterested in lore ramblings. It's always interesting to see what they get out of it.
Yeah.
Put a booster seat in the cockpit? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. He does pretty well, and I think he's one of the people that moves towards joining the Star League.
Yep, they actually mentioned Star League right here.
Yeah. He's one of the...
Yeah, Albert personally did, because he worked with Ian
73.
Cameron.
He was reinstated as Captain General, and was incredibly popular for, well, obvious reasons. Because he also beat the shit out of the Capellans again.
And managed to win all of Andurian back.
Yeah. This would totally not cause major conflicts in the future. It does. It causes a lot.
Of course it will. House Liao literally can't understand the concept of letting fucking bygones be bygones.
House Liao are a bunch of fucking bastards.
They literally won't stop until you kill them all.
Yeah. There's a bit of a talk about like the rest of the reunification campaigns and the disastrous
You're relying on subtitles I can't use to gauge where you are. Is it in the periphery?
It's on the next page. Yeah, the periphery, yeah.
So the states of the Unisphere, isolated states beyond. Yep, because the periphery... See, Battletech humanity very quickly realized overpopulation sucked. So
and
they
we're just
have
going
a habit
to fuck off
spreading.
as far as we can.
The problem is, you have to build infrastructure. You have to. This is actually a real life problem in space. Is one of the reasons why we're not likely to see colonies until we actually invest in this sort of stuff is you have to build actual pieces of infrastructure ranging from fuel depots up in space to lifters to resource extractor. You actually have to spend a lot of money just setting things up.
Who would have thunk?
And the periphery, because humanity kind of just YOLO'd it, essentially, the periphery doesn't have access to those relays and all those glorious things ComStar would eventually hijack. At least not a lot of them. So they are... When we talk about how 4 million people, because that's apparently the population of Tukia, don't worry, chat, I saw that, population worse than Belgium. 4 million people. I think that's like the population of some Midwestern state.
It's half. It's not even Midwestern states. We have less than that. It's like if you cut Bulgaria's population in half.
Half of Bulgaria. That's a lot. So periphery for Battletech, yes. But periphery worlds are even more Splubsville. You could literally have a planet run by like a Amish commune of like 1,000 weirdos.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit out in the periphery. Like there's a group of like Neo-Castilians and Umayyad LARPers.
A Neo? What?
Basically, like, they read history books and they were like, it's pretty dope. We can become Spain again.
I too want to cough on brown people.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I think that was kind of part of it.
There's a couple of... I think those are actual periphery examples.
Yeah, the Umayyad Caliphate and Nuevo Castile are two periphery powers that occasionally get talked about.
Yes. Name ourselves after two eternal losers.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking Umayyads who are literal losers. They got their crap wrecked by the fucking Almoravids.
The clan Goliath Scorpion would eventually actually, after they get kicked out of clan space, would find them, take them both over, and integrate them into a new Imperial Nuevo Scorpion.
That's the first thing a clan did that I think actually they did the right choice.
Yeah, and up their tech level.
You heard it here. It took several videos and an hour into this one, but for once the clans did something right and got rid of these two very cursed periphery powers.
They kind of integrate them into their own society, and it's actually kind of neat. I really like the Scorpion Empire. It's a fun faction full of mech warriors that do scorpion venom as drugs, because that's Clan Goliath Scorpion for you. They use it as a combat drug because with the right
it's not as cool, but it's still a lot better than Nuevo Castile and the Umayyad sadness.
Yeah, it's called like necrosia. It's either in high concentrations it's hallucinogenic, in moderate ones it actually increases your perception and reaction
they just say
times.
It does.
Yeah, That's just the
That's just what they say it does.
yeah. That's just what they say it does. In reality, they just get fucking high because they like to.
They get high.
They get
Staring
bullets.
at clouds and thinking the devil's laughing at them high.
And that's why they shoot everything in front of them and don't stop.
Just don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. Back to the roof, and I figured they're coming. Do they live
It
for
makes sense
fun?
not to live for fun. Brain gets smart, but my head gets dumb. So much to loot, so much to see. So what's wrong with taking the back streets?
When are they going to realize that all that glitters isn't gold? But that shooting stars do break the mold.
Okay, we need to stop before we get a copyright strike.
We probably already did, but that's fine.
Yeah,
It's okay. But don't worry. I now have the greatest idea ever. A planet that literally is ruled by not by Shrek as a human.
It's a Smash Mouth color band that rules it.
No, it's Shrek, but not actually as the ogre.
What are you doing on my swamp?
What are you doing on my planet?
But yeah, there's a bunch of issues that sort of comes into that the Free Worlds League doesn't actually get the best deal out of the Star League.
Yeah, because the Star League, essentially, they're trying to expand into the Periphery because, well, we need to regain all of that what we lost, and these places are garbage. We need to build them up so that we can expand more.
Hey, Lyrans, can you fight the Magistracy 1v1? Like, okay, have fun.
Yep, the
Bye.
Magistracy of Canopus, which then becomes, well, yeah, they're an interesting one. It's the
part
Wiccan,
of it is
the
the
Wiccan
Mercs,
commune filled with
in
like otherkin.
The other thing is that the Mariks are the only one of the great houses in this war that don't break the Ares conventions.
Congratulations on not violating the human rights of everyone around you.
This resulted in massive
casualties. You want a cookie? Do you want a cookie?
Also, the Canopus admirals adopted the tactic of just avoiding them.
Yeah, it didn't go the greatest, and then they started rebellious movements, and it just was like,
well, that's why it worked, because while it's not the smartest decision, I get the concept of fleet and being, but Canopus was being kind of dumb here. They were relying on them not building up logistics trains, which, hey, it worked out for them, but not the wisest decision. They're not stupid, but they don't come off as smart.
Yeah. But yeah, if you take a look, there's an economic crisis. It's just not very good in the Free Worlds League and the Star League.
Because all the money you have to blow in investing on these crap shit worlds.
Not only that, but like their trade is now threatened completely by the Commonwealth.
10 reasons to resist the bourgeois bloat pig oppressor Humphreys.
Spelling incorrect.
She's the representative of the oppressive Star League bourgeois bloat pigs, in league with the murdering bandit Marion Malik. We don't want no off-worlder over us. Smash the bourgeois bloat pigs.
The economic system.
The economic system needs to be revamped to support a Terentian approach to the agricultural reform to answer the needs of the people.
Melissa Humphreys has the blood of the people on her hands. He spelled it correct in the next word.
Only by a systematic approach to revolt can the people overcome the poverty and injustice that plagues them. She is the daughter of the infamous Humphreys line that has made war upon the people for nearly 2 decades and has caused innumerable deaths. We don't want no woman over us. Off the bourgeois bloat pigs.
Documenting the Caminopian resistance, edited by Larry Baxter, Windbreaker Press, 2611.
I love that.
It's so dumb, but it's the sort of thing you'd see on like a backwater planet where it's just like, yep.
I'd like the Raven Alliance.
The Raven Alliance is the Outwards Alliance and Clan Snow Raven both agree that aerospace fighters are fucking rad, and they sort of integrate together.
Well, you see, notice that I like clans that kind of partially give up the innately terrible concept that are them.
Yeah. I mean, they only partially integrate. It's called the Raven Alliance because the Ravens join the Outwards Alliance, so it's now the Raven Alliance because they're also the military force behind it.
So anyway, after the trash fire, the it doesn't. They bleed a lot,
It's
but they
just-
actually somehow manage to get the magistracy to work.
Yeah, they subjugate it, but it takes a lot of time and effort, and it
But
makes
they
them go fucking
surprisingly
broke.
managed to make it work, though.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey,
Which
if
is
it works,
unique.
it works.
Most peripheral powers
And
subjugations
check the
don't
next
work.
page. Guess what happens?
Economic crisis.
Yeah, as I was talking, it doesn't go good.
The investment campaign built new facilities. Oh, I actually like this. This actually is part of the reason why the United Kingdom's empire full-on collapsed.
Yeah,
Well, their
they
economy in the 70s, like the reason why a lot of British stuff was depressing from like the 60s to 80s is one of the negative side effects of being an early adopter of the Industrial Revolution is you're not likely to spend the hundreds of millions to reinvest in newer projects. And if you
Yeah.
do,
Meanwhile,
those projects usually will remove workers that otherwise would stay. And this kind of happens here because, yeah, the free worlds are, very economically powerful, but it's not from their factory lines.
it's from their trade.
And when
And guess what?
Canopus's power,
And when all your power comes from being a convenient positioning.
Not necessarily convenient positioning, but the free
well,
lane.
what happened was Canopus, because they have the brand new product lines and technologies and industry,
They're starting to get in that the same market that the Free Worlds League once had across the inner sphere.
and on top of that, because they were integrated in partially, I mean, I think they were still independent, but like as like
They're part of Star League
associate
now.
They're part of Star League and they're an associate group. That means that they're directly competing with House Marik, and because they're getting off the ground and because they don't have any tariffs or any border issues, their goods are flooding the market, and Marik's goods are not. And
Marik's
Marik
goods
only
are,
makes money via trade.
Yeah,
They have some industry, but it's not enough to keep it going.
and so they also then start to share the discoveries that they have to make money because they need to get money. They need money so fucking bad.
And that's another thing, because Canopus joining in, that's a third wheel, because Marik was used to
It's just the
dealing with the
Commonwealth.
Steiners.
Yep.
Canopus though
Now
throws everything
here's
into
a
hell.
place that kind of hates you. That you spent a lot of money to rebuild, and now they're competing with you economically. Oof. Big oof.
And this causes a very, very big contention. There's the free traders who kind of just want to stick with what they're doing, But then there's protectionists who effectively
want to rewrite the entire founding document of the Free World League, basically.
Because that's what adding those tariffs and centralized bureaucracies would do.
Yeah, because remember, the Free World League starts as a trade league.
It started as a trade league because Charlie Marik outed one dude for Scooby-Doo villainy, and the other three guys kind of agreed, yeah, I don't think we can really work together in like one of us can rule, so let's just do a three-man thing, and we just kind of trade together.
Yeah.
And like our planets kind of pick who is the current leader of Splubsville.
Yeah. And then we get the Scourge of Death with the dumbest looking flag I've ever seen.
Grrr.
Look at this fucking flag.
Grrr.
Scourge of Death sounds like sounds like a guild name in World of Warcraft.
It does.
They actually they're a group of protectionists and they hate the Star League and they managed to kill most of the Marik family.
But so you're saying they are the type of people who would grief level 5 newbies in the beginning zone?
Yes, yeah. But I just realized what they are. They speak Serbian, and their hand is necrotic and dark.
Oh no! Gabrielle Princess has risen from the grave.
They're literally based on the fucking Black Hand.
Yeah, They also this results in the founding of what's known as SAFE eventually, but like anyway,
hey, look at this man with his super monocle. I have identified that this is a walnut. It's just a walnut.
I have identified that this is in fact cringe.
Yeah. Sir, cringe.
By the way, look at that tree with an eyeball in it. That tree has eyes.
Oh god.
It does. Look, if you look over
The
here.
the Ents are rising.
Derpiest One Piece pirate crew flag. I could see it being in One Piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Scourge of Death, crashing the Marik family, no survivors, almost succeeded.
Well, they're almost succeeded. There's luckily Gerald Marik who then goes full Darth Vader, as in he got cybernetic replacement limbs and all this other shit.
And I think that might be Gerald up there. No, that's not Gerald. He has too much flesh.
Yeah. The Marik forces slowly ferreted out and destroyed the Scourge. Finally brought them to heel.
So here's the thing: before the incident, Gerald was just kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
And just kind of a guy. Then he decides to, they stopped existing.
Yeah. However, this gets back to House Silage, who sort of may have given the Scourge, explosives,
weapons of mass destruction,
and flyers, and yeah, they're Regulans. They definitely gave them weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Regulus hands those fuckers out like candy. There's a mock trial and then a battle. And then Star League manages to sort of intervene somewhat.
Gerald then becomes paranoid because,
Yeah, I don't blame him for being a paranoid motherfucker.
Also, keep in mind that a good chunk of his body is mechanical. And, hey, Battletech's actually low-key hinting that just like Cyberpunk, there is a concept called cyberpsychosis.
Yes, they dropped this slightly, but not too much. There's a bias in the Free Worlds League about augmetics, namely that it's not seen as seemly to have obvious replacement limbs.
Yep. Basically, the concept is that the replacement limbs dehumanize and basically a lot of sci-fi has this while they don't usually have strong religious aspects, there's always a philosophical thing, like what makes a soul, what constitutes a soul, does it even exist? And this is kind of the refutation that the machine has no soul.
This is more of a case of...
In this case, it's more of a, my entire family is dead, half my body is missing, and I wake up feeling in agony every second of my life when I'm not on painkillers.
Yeah, he's not the first
understand why he's crazy.
This isn't the first Marik where massive cybernetic replacement of organs results in some very psychotic behavior.
I am in constant, unremitting agony. I probably have minor brain damage as well. Keep that in mind from the incident.
Yeah.
Like, he lost an arm. Most of his ribs are broken. He probably had his head fucked up.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of reasons he went crazy.
Yeah, and then his successor is also kind of really super paranoid, so she gets overthrown by...
Yeah, because look at what frickin' happened.
Yeah. Then we get the first of, well,
by the way, they also have to reveal that she is UGLY. She ain't got no alibi. She ugly.
Yeah. Well, that's typical. It's kind of interesting in that
cleansing the free world.
Oliver Marik doesn't last very long.
So yeah, basically Elise went mad and she screams, "I am the Parliament."
Yeah, it gets
But Adam, I am in fact the Senate.
And what happens is her brother has to just step in. I know.
Yeah, then we get Boris Marik, who is a man of destiny. And
so yeah, the brothers and sister wars, and it doesn't work out.
It doesn't work out. Boris dies in...
Is Boris like Oliver's son or something?
Yes.
Jokes aside, when is it whenever family breaks into massive civil war, is it ever actually a good thing?
Never. But Boris was...
No, he dies too.
Yeah, Boris thought that Bertram was going to kill him, so he tried to escape. And
Did they mention who Bertram is? Bertram Marik.
yeah.
Okay, so the sons of the brother and sister. Got it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that Boris Marik's greatest contribution was a discovery that would save the lives of people who lived 2 centuries after his death on a planet he'd never ever heard of. Why? Because the mold that he had studied in his cell during his experiments turned out to be a very interesting form of protozoa that would only grow there, but had medicinal properties on a completely different world.
Yeah, here you go. Here's Boris discovering the mold here.
Yeah.
It's in the Man of Destiny, which you probably should have specified. Just heads up.
Sorry.
Because here's the thing: Tech has read this book at least 20 times because House Marik is arguably his favorite house. I think.
Really? Couldn't tell.
I really enjoy it. Purple Bird's strong, okay?
Purple Bird's great.
Strong.
I like them in some ways more than I do the Ultramarine faction. I know they're called the Federated Sons, but I like these guys a little more. They're interesting.
So next thing that happens
is why did they come to a deal? Why did Bertram and Boris come to a deal?
Boris, well, for one thing, Boris fucking died, but
they mentioned they had a deal though.
They had a deal, I think that
oh no, Oliver and Bertram made the deal.
Oliver, yes.
Okay. So yeah, basically Oliver knew he was screwed, and he also knew his sister was going to die anyway. So he knew Bertram because Boris was captured. Like he knew Bertram was.
So basically, his thought was like, Boris. Okay, so what we're gonna do is,
sorry, son, I know you're not gonna inherit.
Yeah, like you're not gonna inherit, and I'm gonna get fucking shot. But I've at least negotiated to save your life.
And I've negotiated to revive Parliament because having a pure dictator ain't gonna work for this faction. It just
like
look at what freaking happened.
Yeah. So Boris kind of tried to escape because he thought he would be executed next. Didn't go well.
Regulus is led by Civilization's Gandhi. You're not wrong.
They are unironically a group of probably Indians who are very new cappy.
Well, I love that because does that mean Salaj is actually so peaceful that they loop around into psychotically warmongering?
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. And it's funnier because this fluff outdates Civilization.
Do you think what happened was when the error happened, the coders went, "Oh, we accidentally created House Salaj."
Oh no!
We accidentally created House Salaj.
So. Oh no! Anyway.
So yeah, Bertram kind of gets things back together.
Yep, and then he dies, and his kid's not very good.
He's a hard-drinking, hot-tempered fella.
Quick-tempered man. Distinguished primarily for his propensity for brawling both superiors and subordinates.
Now remember, the other 3 houses and the fourth one that got taken over in a Scooby-Doo land grab have seats on here that you have to listen to, just because it's for quality of life. You can't not ignore them, and you can't not ignore the other worlds. Yeah. This is a man whose response to everything is to, all right, put up your dukes, we're gonna fight. Starts chugging.
Gonna fight. I love this little bit about Owain's diplomacy, which is from the journals of Alexander Kerensky. You know, our good old boy who left. Did nothing wrong. And no, he did nothing wrong. Except
one incident I'll never forget occurred when Marik, unable to arrive at a Star League meeting due to a mechanical malfunction, accepted a lift in a Davian jump ship. Richard Cameron, the 4 other house leaders, and I were there to greet him. I remember his remarks on his arrival. Well, First Lord, you and your puppet Kerensky will be pleased that I had a miserable time on that Davian tub coming here. They're as badly serviced as a Karita brothel, and as ugly as a Capellan whore, huh, gentlemen? But of course Lady Steiner wouldn't know about such things. In 3 sentences, Ewan Marik managed to insult each of the other 4 house leaders, plus the First Lord and myself, without having even removed his jacket.
Based.
Talking about Purple Bird?
Purple Bird's strong!
Oh, wait. Biggs, you're here.
Hello, I've been here the whole time. I've been here for 2 hours.
Oh, good. But yes... I love that he basically goes and dismisses all the problems in the Periphery as entirely the result of House Cameron and problems there, and he's
Well, not only that, but he also is not capable of learning when to shut up.
Why would they hate the Periphery? I thought they were best friends with the Marine hegemony.
Oh my god, no.
Why not? What's wrong? What did the Marine hegemony do to the Mariks recently to hate them?
What haven't they done? They're fucking assholes, is what they are. Anyway,
I'm Caesar.
the fact is though that Owain Merrick is also kind of like setting up all the problems in
Here are some
the
things
deadlock on the
about
council.
everything. So, for Michael Steiner, he called him Lady Steiner, or Clean Hands Michael.
Yes, because he was a dandy who prided himself on being academic. He also just did not like the Lyrans at all.
He also demanded reparations and an apology, and it almost became a border war. Star League had to jump in.
Yes, and he didn't like that.
And his response was to start yelling at Star League, which made a lot of Freeworlders who remembered the time of his ancestor, who's not that far removed, Elise, and her father, Gerald. Oh god, we have another one.
Yeah. So he would then be... The Freeworlders kind of said, hey, why don't you stay on
Fuck
Earth
off.
and represent us there?
And fuck off.
Please.
So then
he also thought that because Michael Steiner and Alexander Kerensky, they'd gone to college together, actually, at the Nagelring. And
it's not something very differently.
What could have gone differently?
I thought he said something differently. I thought he said something very different. I heard something that my mind's just in the gutters right now.
Yeah, sorry, they were at the University of Thork. Had my mistake. Alexander would actually transfer to the Nagelring Academy. But they met each other.
And Kerensky and Michael both very much enjoyed having seamen eject their naval armsmen upon their face.
What? Oh,
that's probably something that Ewan said.
Probably, yeah. Lady Steiner is, Lady Steiner and Mr. Kerensky probably is...
Probably enjoy getting a lot of naval armsmen on their face.
Yeah. He also then, Owain
he tried
McGregor...
to do a defense tax, apparently.
Yes, there was the defense tax because Richard Cameron's kind of an idiot. Owain also...
Nothing but happiness. Marik actually approved of it.
Yes, because it's going to make more problems.
These brushfire wars will keep our fine general busy doing what he does best instead of passing himself off as a credit mark king.
Of course, the main problem is that he's an alcoholic. He's a horrible alcoholic.
I'm pretty sure everybody in the fucking in this fucking universe would be a goddamn alcoholic for the amount of atrocities that happen on a goddamn
look at the
basis.
tears on this poor Marik's face.
That's his son Kenyon. Kenyon was sort of embarrassed by Alexander Kerensky a few different times and never forgave him. Partly because...
So what happened was, because his father was a piece of garbage and probably neglected him for alcoholism, he found his solace in recreations of plays. In particular, he fell in love with the figure of Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yes.
So what he often would do is he tried to recreate an act similar to him.
Oh, yes. He's that brand of retard.
Well, look, his daddy neglected him because he needed to keep drinking.
Daddy never loved me, so I'm going to make all of you suffer.
Basically, that's the best bit about this. I love this lead up.
Please tell me this ends with a Russian equivalent with him marching deep and getting fucked.
Yeah. It kind of does. He has a rousing speech, and then the the garrison comes back and just surrounds him and says, "Hey, you're gonna surrender, right? We tricked you."
Yep, he actually sent for a family banner that he'd raised on position, but he failed to realize that I shouldn't have won as easily as I did.
Yeah, like, wait a second, this went too well.
Well, he never thought that, so he began bragging about his victory. He got encircled, and
yeah, he then does some.
Well, no, it gets better because the person who beat him in the tournament then erected a counter to the eagle standard, a species of creature that actually preyed on the Marik eagle that they tried to introduce to one of their worlds.
Yep. So he also gets in a spat with Kerensky over.
Oh, his modern portrait apparently
Maris.
makes him a big jock.
Oh yeah, we'll have to do Liberation of Terra sometime because it's a very good pair of books.
Kenyon and Alexander hated each other massively.
Absolutely,
and died because he embraced cirrhosis.
Yeah,
literally, he refused to replace his liver, and he just died like in horrible fucking agony.
Yeah. Then, of course, the Council of 2780, where the only two things that were agreed upon was that Kerensky had to be removed as Lord Protector, or whatever the fuck he was calling himself, and that Jerome Blake should become head of ComStar.
Yep, and it makes sense, because what happened was Kerensky actually tried to move around, and one of the first people to actually oppose him at all completely after the death of the Camerons was Kenyon, who essentially they were army not buddies, but army rivals, and they fucking hated each other. More Kenyon towards Alexander than Alexander towards Kenyon.
Yeah, and he also tries to. He realizes that the shit is about to hit the fucking fan. He is the one that basically goes to Parliament and says, "I am now the big dick in charge."
Kenyon Marik's desire to revenge against Kerensky. No, like it's not even blinding. Like, come on. And unlike the Davian guy, Kenyon has excellent reasons to hate Alexander.
Yeah.
Like,
he does.
Knew, like, Alexander Kerensky knew he wasn't going to get anyone on the free world side for this.
Yeah, he knew that he was a dick, and the feeling was mutual, basically.
Removing Kerensky and promoting Jerome Blake, great idea.
Great idea. Nothing bad happened because of that at all. Yeah. Aside from the clans, the nukenings, the clans again.
To be fair, I mean, hindsight's 2020, and
the Succession Wars. More
who would have
nukes.
thought one fucking death cleric would have resulted in a goddamn space religion being popped up by goddamn wizards?
Yeah, that was Blake's plan all along. Actually, his genius plan in case of the apocalypse was, we're just going to become the tech wizards. That way, like, at least the knowledge will survive.
No. Like, here's the thing. Thankfully, it doesn't seem to be operating on malicious idiocy logic, where that's actually what happened. It seems to be more of a case where it just led that way.
No, that was Blake's plan.
Oh, god damn it.
That was Blake's plan.
Well, no, I thought where the Blake was. I thought they twisted his words.
No, not entirely.
Why is it whenever
I know he wanted like I know Blake wanted like a globo homo, like control like the whole sphere, as I recall, but I believe
not exactly. His objective, his primary objective, was to defend the ComNet, and to defend as much of the technological advances as possible
to keep everything together.
Both are critical. So his idea was, if we make sort of a quasi-religion around this,
god damn it,
we should be able to keep the idiots from blowing all of us up.
I'm sorry, it's just.
Swear to God, I think Techpriest is fucking about, because I know for a fact the word of Blake.
I'm not. The word of Blake. Now, here's the thing. Jerome Blake also knew that this was not the greatest idea, so he had some countermeasures inside of it. But
I don't
Good to go,
care.
Techpriest.
You
You
know,
ruined
you know,
Adam's
you fucked up
enthusiasm.
when G-Dubs managed to pull off a more realistic rise of a fucking religious tech cult.
You made him very sad, Techpriest. I hope you
Yeah,
feel
it was
me.
basically Holtz has it stated better than I did. The idea was to code the knowledge necessary for the HPG network into the religious chanting, so that way it's
So
hard.
literally, their chants are the equivalent of 00111011110011111.
Okay.
So that way,
If-
like at the interstellar civilization wouldn't fucking die.
So
They could still talk to each other.
I'm gonna need something a little more stronger than what I'm drinking right now. So while I go off, why don't you
Welcome
talk
to the
about
first
how
Succession War.
Why don't you
Everyone's
talk about-
retarded.
no, why don't you talk about why Jerome Blake did nothing wrong as I do this?
He did nothing wrong because honestly, when you consider what he was looking at, it was the best fucking option. Holy mother of God.
But bringing us back to the Stone Age doesn't sound that bad.
Well,
I mean, think of all the anarcho-primitive societies you can form from it.
Well, his ideas and his intentions are definitely somewhat noble, but he definitely knew what he was doing was morally dubious at best and potentially disastrous at worst.
Morally dubious is in fact a term.
So, Techpriest, how does it feel knowing that Ted Kaczynski was probably more benevolent than Jerome Blake?
It's quite funny, actually. That basically now to the defense of Blake, all of this happened at the behest of his heir. However, Jerome Blake specifically told Toriyama that he should probably do this. This is my original plan. You should probably do this. And Toriyama took it and ran with it. Oh boy, he ran with it. Toriyama would also engage in political purges of ComStar to ensure that the secret
for some reason you say Toriyama, but I hear Toriyama and thinking the creator of Dragon Ball.
Sorry, Toyama, not Toriyama.
It's just
trucks.
It's Conrad Toyama is a very debatable figure in that there's a lot of retcons involved with him. The most recent information about him from the first and second Succession War book indicates that
Goku defeated Jiren with Ultra Instinct.
Yes. Therefore establishing the word of Blake.
So
now with that deep lore out of the way, the first Succession War is a fucking nightmare.
No, I have one more comment. It would have been more funny if Blake did that as a workplace joke.
He trained Toyama wrong as a joke.
No, it's even stupider than that. Like, you know, you're in IT. You know the pain.
Yeah. Oh, I know the fucking pain.
Imagine, if you will, you're in the server rooms. You're in the server rooms. You're with like the other person. Like, this is a network that you have to have a team of like 4 to 8 to work with, and you're the only 2 there.
Yeah.
And you decide to make fun with your work buddy that, hey, when society fails because the network's going to collapse or everyone's just going to go full Ted Kaczynski and want to return the monkey, let's make it, as a joke. Hey, let's do that Arthur Clarke magic is science bullshit. Like, just venting. Like I could just see like Jerome Blake as a techie talking to Toriyama or Toyama or Toyotomi or whatever. Like, with everything, this situation running all these sat links is pain. Like, when the apocalypse happens, I'm gonna form a death cult because screw this.
Screw society, and it's failed me.
I've had to stay up for like 20 hours.
We must become the techno wizards. We must become the wizards of technology.
Wouldn't that make a lot more sense if that was actually what happened?
That's kind of, I mean,
like,
Blake was kind of on his
Toyama, but then the apocalypse happens, and he's like, I was fucking joking. And then Toyama's like, no, you are the chosen one. He's like, wait, what? You must not reveal the secrets. And Toyama, in a fit of insanity, kills him.
Word of God is there is a fiction bit that starts the second.
Wait, are you talking about Word of God here, or a Word of ones and zeros?
Word of Blake.
No, Word of God, as in that this is official canon fluff. Blake did tell Toyama to do some of this. This is not entirely Toyama's.
I don't care what Word of God says. I'm just going to take it as Jerome Blake made a lot of jokes as he had to deal with the relay lines crashing between Regulus and Terra for the 18th time that day, and the on-site techs are being yelled at by the local administrators, and he's just venting to his friend who he doesn't realize has stopped taking his antipsychotic medication.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
mouthful.
Yeah. So the Marik, the first Succession War actually goes really, really well for the Free Worlds League. They take out a good chunk of the Capellan Confederation. They manage to hold back the Lyrans, and even raid Hesperus a couple of times and destroy the Bolson shipyards, and
Yeah, they go into a lot of details about it. Yep, the militia.
have a lot of good time.
Yeah,
Now,
and the Milia is doing really well, which I think is their militia.
The militia is the official, the area of the Marik Commonwealth. Their regiment is the Marik Militia. So, because all of the states of the Free Worlds League are expected to raise their own military for the defense of the Free Worlds League. The Mariks raise the Marik Militia. The Duchy, the Oriente raise the Oriente Fusiliers and Grenadiers. The Stuarts, the Dragoons. Then there's the Regulan Lancers. The Syrian Lancers, isn't it? And the Regulan, or else the Regulans Lancers? I can't fucking remember. Anyway, point being that all of these units are raised from these worlds. So they don't always work the best together, but they're all very, very well trained because it's a pride thing for your...
to be taken in by directly under America.
Well, that's where the Free Worlds Legionnaires come in later on, and the Free Worlds Guards, which are the whole thing. It's the Regulan Hussars, that was it.
I kind of lost attention because I saw Death Cults are a big plot point, and Akira Toyama makes Capsule Corps or ComStar Shell Branch.
Capsule?
Akira Toriyama makes Capsule Corp part of ComStar. There's our crossover. There's our crossover.
You know, it's really sad. I'm just envisioning, unironically, you can put in the Red Ribbon androids into Battletech. and I hate it, but I like it at the same time because Jerome Blake, the words you've described about his plan, makes me want to gouge my eyes out with a rusty fucking knife.
Everyone in the first Succession War is kind of retarded. That's just kind of the nature of the first Succession.
Only kind of?
See, Kenyon being dumb, I understand because, he logically makes sense where he came from.
The only smart one is Kerensky, who got the fuck out of there. That's it.
Oh no, Kenyon, I don't want to say he's smart, but he doesn't feel like I wrote them stupid because we needed an idiot ball.
Yeah, that's the Livrans.
So American, the Parliament, yeah. Well, actually, the Capellans too, because remember the lady
the
ruling
Capellans,
that
she didn't think that there would be a war that would break out. We're just going to elect a new first warlord, right? Now that Kerensky's gone, right? Right? Oh no! Now the Mariks are coming for me. So, oh no! I made a mistake.
So he dies like a little bitch against the Lyrans.
Yep.
His second son, because the first one's dead.
Thaddeus Marik does a pretty good job. Very violent time, but he does a pretty good job.
Then the Allisons try to essentially hamstring him. He calls the bluff.
Yep. And then there's the time of peace where kind of everybody sort of drags to a halt in 2020 because it's the Ares conventions having gone out the window. Everyone's dropping the nukes and the biologicals like candy. It's not going very well for people.
Oh, and 35 years is still too much, in my opinion.
Well, you got to consider they can take months to cross parts of the inner sphere because of the jump drive restrictions. So
fair enough. It still, since the scale is only hundreds of worlds, after a certain point, people just get tired of restrictions like that, though.
Which is why there's a nice break between.
I think timescales are a bit off still.
Yeah, they are. It's one of the problems, but I do enjoy that they admit that everybody had to kind of take a breather in between the first.
Yeah, they
and
mentioned the food riots, which after 35 years of everything getting fucking blown up.
And he fucking just he goes ape shit on Viscount Marley, who tries to restore order because he's like,
Of each trial during which several rioters are sentenced to death for killing security guards at a meatpacking house, discovered several judicial irregularities, including the judge had disallowed testimony that the accused had not been present at the crime. Despite public opinion, he strongly favored execution. He insisted on their innocence.
yeah, ordered them released, and he's like, why the fuck did you do that? This is just why they're rioters. He ended up in the streets of New Pittsburgh, and then got off the world. Thaddeus.
Why did anyone love Pittsburgh so much? You know when you love Pittsburgh so much, you want to make a second
It's a group
one.
of Yinzers that needed to save the Steelers. They brought them to the Free Worlds League to save
The
them.
Manet Domini are the closest to we'll get to full androids. What are those?
The Hands of the Master. It's Blakist stuff. Imagine cyborgs whose entire purpose is to kill clanners.
Okay, and when was this written?
This is part of the HeroClix era of like we need to figure out a reason for why the jihad happened.
Okay, I was just wondering who
what do you mean the HeroClix era? What?
Oh yeah, the company that owns HeroClix actually bought out
FASA and bought Battletech, and then decided to make what's known as MechWarrior Dark Ages, which is a HeroClix line for Battletech.
And it did not do well because they fired all of the writers and they didn't bother to immerse themselves in lore. So kind of like
and then
Disney.
they did a time skip to they did a time skip 100 years in the future or so, and go like now the HPG networks are broken. There's an entirely new faction and there's a jihad that happened. We're just gonna kind of like shove that under the rug. Like the details don't matter about the jihad. It was just destructive, and the Blakists were behind it. And it's dumb because a lot of the books have been building up to the jihad before our fun times with the buyout. MechWarrior 4 actually ends with like a mention of that the jihad's on the way and it's going to be weird and wonky and nuts, but we never see it. Yeah. we don't see it outside of some later released books, which aren't very good.
Everything after the FedCom Civil War never happened. No, it did.
No, it did. It's just that like we don't talk about the jihad. We don't talk about the Dark Age.
So I had a point in my head about what I was gonna say, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Thaddeus died, and
Janos Marik becomes the new Captain General.
How did we get on the HeroClix thing?
Because
Mene Domini. Now I remember. I asked only because I wanted to see who ripped off who, and it turns out that the HeroClix ripped off G-Dubs with the Skitarii. Because that's the thing with Battletech, it's old enough that it could have been the other way around very easily.
Yeah. Now
they're just Skitarii, but a lot shitter.
They're Skitarii in a lot of ways. They're actually very similar to like Skitarii assassins, and
it's
and
almost
like
they ripped off another very popular tabletop game.
It's funny because the Manus Domine, their assassin-y stuff, is before the Admech even got their army. So it's still everybody's ripping off each other.
No, it doesn't matter. Lore-wise,
but it's still funny. It's still funny, is what I mean. Like they're basically both ripping off each other as fast as they can.
Yeah, which is funny because didn't G-Dub sue them at one point?
No, you're thinking of George Lucas, who sued them at one point because the original
Battletech's gotten sued a couple times, and
Battletech's gotten sued by Harmony Gold. You could do a college course on the legal issues around Battletech, just flat out. You could do a entire college course in international copyright law and intellectual property laws.
So anyway, Charles V, Charlie Marik II, good general, but has Ewan's ability to go up to a person and say, "Hey, fuck boy."
Yeah. It's not
imagine
very great.
a Ewan who actually on the battlefield can back up his insults.
Now that said,
but he can't win the peace. He can only
part
win
of the
war.
problem. Part of the problem is that he's trying to figure out a way to attack the other sphere powers, and Safe isn't able to infiltrate very well. So he turns to ComStar. This is a mistake, and even ComStar admits that this was a mistake to ever do this because it nearly ended the entirety of ComStar.
Even from like the short term, or is this like a long term way of looking at
In the
things?
short term.
In the short term.
Even in the short term. Jesus.
Yes, Toyama realized he overplayed his hand. Essentially, the main problem is that the sister of Charles here, Jeanette, was an adept in ComStar.
Someone become an
fighting
adept
regimes, we're
exactly.
skipping
Do they come to you, or do you come to them for that? I've always been curious about that.
Well, you go to them. Like ComStar is the guys that ComStar are the bankers, the communication men, the technological experts, the religious fanatics. Like
they just sound so secretive. I'd imagine they're
They
like
are.
the Illuminati, where like
They
they
are.
just
they
come to you.
are the
I just
Illuminati.
didn't know
Like
I just didn't know they were that open, like where you can at least go to them for like I don't know, like a clerk's position.
you
Just
can.
like it feels like they come to you even for like when you got to file their fucking taxes. It's what I
Well,
thought.
if you're flagrant about it, they will. But by that point, you've made a big mistake.
By that point, you're probably already dead.
Oh god.
ROM is the ComStar intelligence service, and ROM is well, before ComStar has its little spat after the Klan invasion, ROM is probably the best intelligence service ever known to mankind, because they can monitor every communication,
It's not like they
everything
have
that goes
access.
between worlds.
It's not like they have
And-
access to the fucking phones or anything.
Yeah,
Well,
they have a tap to every phone. They have a tap to all the research you've ever done, to all of your banking records, to
And don't
all
forget
of that.
that it's entirely because the architecture that you're working from was built by them.
Yes, that's
Like,
the other
even
thing.
if you try to build something new, it doesn't matter. You're still using their architecture. Any skilled IT person who's versed in a certain field,
They just got logs. They've got the logs everywhere.
they can
It's
either
just-
get the logs, or because of commonality in coding, it's pretty easy to jailbreak into any new systems and just kind of use the natural features, because honestly, it's not like someone's going to create a new operating system or a new coding language. It's not
And when
happening.
Yeah, because ComStar will kill you if you try to.
And
You'll
when
have an accident.
And when somebody from ComStar says, "I tracked your IP, I'm coming to beat you up, you little shit," they mean it.
Well, they won't even tell
ComStar-
you.
Customer service management will be with you shortly.
It's
They
like
Our customer service, our complaint our complaint resolution team will be with you shortly.
there's actually a corporation, like a convenience store corporation, that uses it's Disney. Disney actually uses the word customer to represent problem causers when internally. Like in internal memos, they always call the troublemakers customers.
Yeah. So now here's the other thing though, is that ComStar does use their ultimate tool, and you have to understand why this is so important. ComStar has the power to just shut off all your communications internally and externally. This is called an interdict. This rarely happens, but the threat of it alone is such a powerful tool that it allows ComStar to manipulate a lot of shit.
Well, the thing is, ComStar knows they can't abuse that tool too much, because there's a point where what'll happen is Escape from LA.
They'll go back to Pony Express, and that's what was forced to be done by the Free Worlds. The problem is that this allowed the Capellans to blitz into everything they just took.
Oh, that's fun.
And raiding forces from the Federated Suns and the Draconis Combine decide that, they can't respond if we send, say, a battle mech group and a bunch of transport ships to one of their main mech manufacturers and drop in system and just, take everything.
Backdoors to secret features, assassination guaranteed. Yep.
The question, but no, the real question is, you say that.
Yeah,
but...
Disney calls troublemakers customers. They call the normal.
No, I don't mean that. But they say there's nothing they can do about it. But do they do something about it?
Eventually, they do.
They suck up. They suck up and basically go like, okay, tap out.
They kind of had to, but the reason interdictions, while interdicts are very powerful, the reason they don't do them too often is, if they do, eventually the houses would be like, you know what, fuck it, crashing this civilization, no survivors, let's all return to Monkey.
That's why the ComStar's plan was kind of just to make the houses fight each other until they all kind of died.
But that's the thing.
Like-
ComStar at any point would be aware had to be aware that if they did it too openly, or they used interdicts too much, or were too heavy-handed, they would crash the server. No survivors, because techies can do a lot of damage just from their soft and digital, but it doesn't matter if you have Snake Plissken and Escape from LA just crashing the fucking technology curve. No survivors by destroying everything.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care how much power you have, nerd. We're going back to the Stone Age together. They had to worry about that.
They did. ComStar worked from the shadows basically all the time.
Because if they're too open, the great houses will just say, I don't care.
It's also important to note that ComStar controlled the Mercenary Review Board, which is the main way that the houses hired mercenaries.
Which they actually do need to supplement their forces.
Yes.
They have enough to commit, but because of the sheer size of the borders, they don't have enough manpower.
Not only that, but deniable operations,
and that's important too.
Now, ComStar then can say, oh, this is a contract between House Krita and Mercenary Company A to raid the Lyrans. I'm going to change this slightly, and no one's going to notice. So now they're raiding somewhere else.
Surprise ComStar didn't wipe out Black Box at the soonest hint.
They didn't know about the Black Box system originally. The Black Box system is like a secondary HPG network that's like a fax machine that can. It's like a very short distance in terms of interstellar communications fax machine that can send like a couple of pages of text at a time.
But yeah, they
compared
eventually
to the HPGs.
did kneel, which actually is kind of a fun nod to the since they mentioned the Habsburgs. It vaguely reminds me not of them, but of the HRE emperors who had to be chastised outside of Rome.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that.
Charles, the Free Worlds League.
He had to accept it, and even then,
it didn't go good.
Because because the Lyrans and Capellans were kicking their teeth in.
Yeah, so they finally kind of just managed to get a stalemate going, and then start to refund the military again.
Yeah, because what happened is Charles, by ostracizing ComStar, which at the time still makes sense because he tied himself too tightly.
Fuck these guys. They're trying. I need to take over the communications in order to be able to do a first strike.
Tried to own up to it.
Yeah, you can see the logic of
what happened was he lost a lot of support because he was in a fool's war. He can't win. Like, why send our boys to die when the Captain General, he can't win? Like, there's no way. By the time they respond to this attack, Liao's like 3 planets behind, and they're cut off from actual resupply from jump points. Like, that's how bad it was. And it's only after things are connected and they finally get the full picture again, they go, well, shit.
Yeah, because it's like, oh no, like they've got a picture of what's going on from like basically Pony expressing things across.
They have a vague idea, but they didn't know it was this bad.
Yeah,
and the fact that even with the reconnection, they're still getting their crap kicked.
Yeah, so they have to buy a bunch of mercenaries. They have to spend a bunch of more money. They're now fighting 2 successor states at the same time on 2 fronts. It's not good. They lose there's a lot of damage to various mech facilities at this time, but finally they launch a major counterattack to push essentially back to much of the borders. But it doesn't fully take back what they'd lost. And it really cripples the Free Worlds League's industrial capacity.
Well, well, not only that, but like entire lines that have been there for hundreds of years died out. The Allisons actually went down to a man during this.
Yeah. It goes. There goes Oriente. Like,
I don't know any of this history shit.
I'm just reading it right now. I don't know any of it. I'm reading it right now.
Yeah.
I thought you're talking real history.
127 confirmed kills.
Well, yeah, real history. House Marik valiantly defeated the Lyran Commonwealth and the Capellan Federation on the battlefields of Belgium using the powerful ComStar mercenaries.
Yeah, and
that actually did happen in real life. It's people don't talk about it though.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
So the after the Second Succession War, there's sort of another truce period because Everybody's
Because
gotten
House
fucked.
Marik got wrecked, but
House Marik got wrecked. House Kurita got wrecked. House Davian's gotten wrecked. The Lyrans aren't looking very good. The Capellans are just like
the Capellans, because of their bloody-minded obsession with just trying to win at all costs, even they realized, yeah, we're sending children to the front line.
They were sending children to the front line the entire time. Let's be honest.
But we're considering sending babies to the front line.
Baby armor. No, the thing is the Capellans are suffering massive damage from their strategy of elastic defense, where they're willing to give up worlds temporarily to retake them very quickly.
Those worlds are rapidly becoming
are becoming a fucking nightmare zone, and it's
not
just
even
not
nightmare, but like any loyalists are dead. Any other disloyalists are dead. Everyone on that planet is dead.
Yeah,
there is nothing left to recoup from it.
Yeah.
Somebody's fucking dead.
Yeah, that's kind of the situation after the second Succession War. But everybody decides that, you know what, it's time for third Succession War.
Yep. They go into the Mariks in between the
Well,
peace,
you know what?
last chance of peace.
You know what they say, if first you don't succeed.
Try again.
No, just you don't say anything, you just keep going.
Also, another the Mercenary review board ComStar does get a slight cut each time.
Yes, they do. They get a cut of every contract made, every transaction you make, every communication you make between yourself and your forces. ComStar gets paid for that. This is why ComStar are the bankers. They literally control the monetary supply. If you want to exchange money, you're going to be doing it through ComStar, and they're going to take a cut. The third Succession War is just sort of a long, dragged down conflict.
So we're just going to
We're gonna skip through it. It's a lot of like minor details. It lasts 100 fucking years. A lot of
explosions. Mockingbird. Here's a cool drop pod ship.
Yep. And then on the next page, there's another one.
Same model.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, they're just going into detail about Elizabeth. There's this styling and profiling dude.
This is a member of House Marik's CopSec force, the police.
I love it. They look like Daft Punk.
They do, don't they?
One more time.
And depending on where they are in the Free Worlds League, depends on what their color scheme is. So, like, security agents from Oriente will wear all white, and Durians wear buff-colored jumpsuits instead of the purple of Marik, etc., etc., etc.
That's neat. And again, this is something you don't see in modern tabletopping games too often. You don't have a guy who specifically goes into uniform concepts and designs usually.
Then there's a few other kind of...
There's Samuel Marik.
There's Samuel Marik. There's Thaddeus II, who...
They go into a lot of details about them. There's Killing Stroke.
Yep.
If you don't first succeed, blow it up again. Yeah?
Yeah.
Here's all the Mariks that had to deal with explosions.
A lot of Mariks.
Well, the third Succession explosions.
Yep. And then, of course, a contract is a contract.
Anyway, here's Gregory Hallis.
Yeah. Then we get to the most important guy of this era of, early Battletech for the Free Worlds League, which is Janos Marik.
Yep, ignoring concession to Parliament.
We're ignoring that. We're ignoring a few other things.
Here we go. Extension of Janos Marik.
So the violence between the Successor Lords is basically...
We had to skip the third
crazy.
Succession War. Sorry, guys.
The third Succession War is so fucking long. It's a bunch of little small raids. It's not like
the glorious Nukenings,
where there's a lot of very high intensity conflict. It's a very low intensity.
Crashing House Marik and no survivors.
Yeah. So Janos actually would go to a different academy than the typical one on New Olympia. They'd go to Princefield. And
well, there's a Resolution 288. You might want to explain that to me and the others.
Resolution 288 or Resolution 512?
288 is what's causing the most trouble at this time of Janos's...
Resolution 288 is the one that dissolved the Parliament.
Oh, they dissolved it again?
Resolution 288, if you remember earlier, is Thaddeus basically saying that Parliament is under my authority for the duration of the crisis. I get to convene and dissolve them at will.
This would be which Thaddeus?
Well, right at the start, the first one that throws down in the first Succession War.
So they were always in crisis.
Yeah,
I can see why they were partially
288.
unstable then, because the Parliament was getting sick of hundreds of years of being a rubber stamp.
Yes. Now that being said, this did allow the Free Worlds League to survive the crisis.
Yeah, but
the
it
problem
also
is
made
at
the
this
Captain
point,
General's position very much hated.
Yeah.
Because they were tyrants, essentially.
They now had to start to make concessions because there's just no fucking way you can survive otherwise. So,
and the bitterness of America's enemies in Parliament had contributed greatly to, well, effectively the Free Worlds League struggling to win the peace.
Yes.
Because there's a peace after the Third War.
Well, during the Third War, there's kind of a peace. It's not full-scale intensity conflict. There's times when various there's times when various successor states aren't actually fighting each other. And otherwise, it's like small raids to just grab facilities or just to, test new designs, test new machines, or just steal spare parts or whatever else. Janos would actually serve pretty well during this time when he was fighting general problems that were arising in the Free Worlds League. And so in 2991, Janos Marik became the Captain General at the age of 33.
Yeah, I was just reading about why he went to Princefield. They don't mention that.
Part of it is that Princefield is actually the most prestigious academy in this in free world space. New Olympia was the traditional one for the Mariks, but Princefield had a stellar reputation. Like the top graduates of Princefield were generally expected to be like among the best of the best of the best. So again,
Janos apparently went into a lot of duels of honor over Princefield.
Yes, because there are a lot of people that consider them kind of just stuffed up suits.
Well, Ivy League, but without any merit. Kind of like current Ivy League colleges nowadays.
Yeah. He confirmed Resolution 288.
Basically at number 1.
Yeah. Graduated
as a mech pilot.
Uh-huh. And he did pretty well, honestly.
Yep, to survive the deep raid. He added a conspiracy.
Yeah. He did pretty well.
And then he was thrown a little early, I think.
At 33 into there.
A little bit early.
The main problem was that he had the issue of Resolution 288 and the fallout from Stefan's failure to address Resolution 512.
Oh yeah, he affirmed the continuation, but announced an amnesty for political prisoners.
This actually did a good thing, because it meant that the people that would have a hatred for him being a Marik that had just taken this kind of went away. Because suddenly you've got the new guy and he's saying...
He's like, yeah, I have to do this, but I don't want to.
Yeah, like, I've got to... It's still an emergency.
It's still an emergency.
But we can't
like,
be fighting ourselves. Yeah, but we can't be fighting ourselves down this. So you're all...
pardoned.
Yes. Now, one of the problems is that he realizes that if Resolution 288 goes... things can go explode in the league, because there's now the chance that members could try to leave.
The most likely of which would probably be those shit stirrers in House Silage.
Well, they're gone, sort of,
dead,
now.
Dead?
Yeah, I think they're dead now. I could be wrong on that. But here's the main thing. The ones that would be the most likely to leave are the Andurians.
Oh, yeah, there's also the Orientes, because remember, the house that took over from the Allisons actually really didn't like Marik at all.
Right, so there's that issue as well.
There's an Andurian, and then there's Oriente.
Yeah, now that said, Janos would be probably the best leader that the Free Worlds League had ever seen up till this point.
I mean,
In
it's
terms
just
of
he
keeping
inherited a
things.
league that was in horrible shape.
Well, he kept it alive, which is the most insane
Their
thing.
entire economy in the border provinces completely destroyed.
Yeah, he went on an offensive, managed to do a raid on Hesperus, carved off a chunk of Liao space.
He celebrated
managed
a
to,
whole year of partying.
Yeah. For the Free Worlds League in 3004 started their basically assault to.
Well, it also helps that Janos, for the first of all the Captain Generals, actually looked at civilian matters, which that hasn't happened
Yeah.
since before the first Succession War.
Exactly. Remember, they're military leaders. They're not supposed to be civilian leaders.
And he's like,
That's
wait
the
a
job of
minute.
Parliament.
Wait a
Well,
minute.
Parliament's now at the behest of the Council General, the Captain General, right? So there you go. To continue on, to sum this up, so we can actually get to the really fun stuff about like talking about the fun details. On page 54, they talk about
Wedding plans. All the dead wives.
yeah,
Poor Janos.
Janos kind of being Janos is suffering. Just flat out, it's suffering.
I'm on my 20th wife.
Yeah.
My
On page 54,
25th
though,
kid's dead.
on page 54, though, there is a big problem. He's
More
lost most
kids,
of his
more problems.
he's lost most of his kids. One of his children, Thomas, this will be very important later, enters the service of ComStar. His stepmother had become an invalid from degenerate bone disease. The main problem is that the brother of Janos, Anton Marik, is not happy about the interference of Janos on the Capellan front. He thinks that the Lyran front's more important. He shifts focus away. He executes a very important general that is trying to stir shit when it really doesn't need to happen.
It's also interesting because wasn't Anton, like, for a long time his compadre?
Yes. They're not really sure why, but it's like a lot of people are looking at Janos is maybe losing it.
Well, it is mentioned that Janos eventually becomes bitter and depressed, so...
Yeah, I mean, everything in his life has gone to shit by this point. And the Wolf's Dragoons are in the service, technically speaking, of Anton.
He identified with the august spirit of Oliver Marik.
Oh, yeah, that's depressing.
Why would he pick the guy who literally lost?
Yeah, that's how.
Moron, Anton.
Yeah. The Jacobite usurper 3 centuries earlier,
Who
and
failed.
of course,
Horrible.
yeah, who failed, of course, but you know, hey. The main problem is that Wolf's Dragoons decide that, you know what, fuck it, we're clan spies anyway, let's try to take out a successor state. They don't do that.
Yep, aged considerably, lost another wife, another one.
Anton, Janos sort of,
He didn't even, like, nothing surprised him. He was completely emotionless.
Yeah, the main problem is that suddenly Janos managed to make sure that the provincial government's got an ultimatum. You side with me, or you side with him, and if you side with him, I'm going to come down on you like I did the Capellans.
And he also openly stated, "I consider my brother dead."
Yeah.
You side with him
penalty
can join
for
him.
anyone who harbors him is dead. So Andurian and Regulus both go like, we're just gonna sit this one out.
Yeah, because he openly said, "I will do to you what the Capellans do to their own."
Yeah.
You will only be remembered as a gravestone.
And the Duchess of Andurian would also not send any
sat
troops
out because she hates them.
Fuck
but
this.
She's like, no, I'm not even this dumb.
So the one of the leaders of the Wolf's Dragoons gets taken hostage by Anton because they're not gonna break up apart into small units to reinforce the line because they work as a unit. They're a big regiment. This is what you hired us for, not to parcel us out piecemeal where you could theoretically then absorb us into your forces. We're not going to allow that. Because that's kind of a violation of our contract. Well, Anton doesn't take that too well. Takes the brother of Jamie Wolf hostage.
Who is the captain of the mercenary unit?
Yes, and then the wolves decide that
he didn't just arrest. He didn't just arrest Josh. He tried him for treason and then executed him before he even had a military trial.
Yeah. And the thing is, you know who Joshua was fucking at the time? Probably the deadliest muck warrior alive at the moment, which was Natasha Kerensky.
Oh, Jesus.
Natasha Kerensky is also better known as the Black Widow.
This Kerensky's.
Yeah.
So what happened was the moment his death was announced, which was mainly done to try to force them to keep in terror and actually split apart, they, as one, went immediately to his planet, and he was personally and violently executed by Natasha.
Yeah. Natasha does not play. The only person she ever really played with was probably the bounty hunter, and that's maybe because the bounty hunter had shot out her mech. She'd shot out the bounty hunter's mech. They got into a fist fight, swapped mechs, and then legged it away from each other to try to rebuild.
Anton is not a smart man to see what he did with the dragoons. Yeah.
Anton Anton made a giant fucking mistake, mind you.
And there's no reason for him to want to betray other than I'm power hungry now.
Yeah. Welcome to the land of the Marik. Civil wars every 5 minutes.
It's not a complete idiot ball because it is described Janos was not. He was losing. He was not himself. Depression.
Yeah, he was in a depressive funk. This kind of fixed it to some degree, but the main problem.
28 others, including Jamie's wife and 2 daughters.
Yeah, that was the other reason why Jamie was totally fine with Natasha going AWOL.
Well, no, he joined. No, the entire unit joined, if I remember right.
The Black Widow. Well, it was the Black Widow company that did it mostly.
Well, she's the one that broke through their lines, but the entire Dragoon force orbited and actually fought on the planet to kick his shit in and take him in.
Yeah, the funniest thing is that Janos, upon seeing them kill Anton, is like,
offered a contract immediately.
Contract time. Like, you guys are great. I want you guys to show that we. Well, I mean,
they were
fight.
The force that kept his crappy rebellion going.
Yeah,
because he had a quarter of the initial guys, but a good chunk of them immediately ditched.
Yeah, so his plan, by the way, to make it so that the Lyrans aren't going to be able to exploit this big problem against us, and Liao will think twice, is we're going to raid Hesperus.
Yeah.
Now, on one hand, this is brilliant. On the other hand, it also didn't work out the greatest. It helped to some degree, but Wolf wasn't able to succeed. You know, they still got there. They still did pretty well, but they weren't able to win.
Fought through a forest fire and dropped a wall on Anton. Amazing.
Yeah. There's actually more detail in a side book about it, but now they decide to make the Captain Concord with Garita and all that because
they go into detail about that. Here it is. It's a meeting of the mind.
And then the next page has a really fun image. I just like it.
The shredded image I like.
It's all of the other houses' symbols shredded by an eagle, which is that's ballsy. But it states that the Free Worlds League, we're still alive, motherfucker. We ain't dead yet.
So the government of the Free Worlds League is
a fucking mess. So first off, there's a parliamentary membership. The 3 original signees get a proportional number of seats. There's about 300. There's about 500 seats in Parliament at the moment. Members serve 2-year terms. Electoral districts are redrawn every decade on a province-by-province basis according to the economic strength of each state. This is to encourage states to develop themselves and not just laze around and basically, like, if you're gonna be part, you got to pitch in.
Well, they also mentioned that they constantly rework it. They don't currently have a number for it, but it's around 500.
Yeah. The Parliament gets to do a lot of shit. Compared to the
Yeah, like
rest
even
of the
though they've been
successor
rubber
states,
stamped, even though 288's kind of limiting them, they still have teeth.
they still have a lot of teeth. The Captain Generalcy is more the ability to 288. It's more the
The head of government is essentially there's the Captain General who's the official dictator, but the actual head is the speaker of the council.
who is elected by the League Council, who is elected by, I think, the Parliament. I could be wrong on that.
The speaker forms the League Council from Parliament members.
Ah, that was it. Yes, and then
And
Parliament
there's
can
9
then
seats
dissolve
to represent the
Parliament.
3 different founders. There's defense,
Yes.
foreign affairs, taxation, trade, intelligence, energy, communication, blah blah blah. 3/5 vote from Parliament can recall a speaker, so they can be. Oh God, I forget.
Withdrawn.
No, it's not withdrawn or recalled.
Recalled?
Recalled is actually the proper term for this because it's not really an impeachment.
Well, no, I wasn't going for impeachment. I was going for
vote of no confidence.
Vote of no confidence. Thank you.
That's right in the book, actually.
I'm sorry, I just was blanking hard. I remembered recall, but not that. So that's incorporation. We're skipping that. So the Captain General is the thing is
overall military commander.
Officially, the head is the speaker. The speaker is elected from the 500 August body of the worlds. It gets reworked, redistricted. Some planets are too small to still have a representative. Some are, but because they were integrated early, they still have one. There's a tiny little Indian planet in the old Silage domain. I think has not even 1 million people, but they still have a representative since they were a very early
Indian planet that was against the Ares Convention. Is that the same fucking one?
It might be. It's basically this tiny shit.
That's in the Davian. That's in actually the Davians absorbed the United Hindu Collective.
But there's also Indians here, and there's a tiny crappy Indian world in the Silage space that it shouldn't have a representative based on size, but it does because of when it got absorbed. It was really early in the Free Worlds League.
Yep.
So it depends on that. So sizes are vary. If the planet's in the middle of a civil war, that varies. Because you have to pick one of the 2 factions or one of the gajillions. Sometimes you might just leave the seat empty because of that. But either way, you vote. It's divided loosely into the 3 big houses at the time, which are the Oriente, Andurian / Regulus, and then Marik.
Yeah.
To represent the equal thing. Captain General
the Free Worlds
was the equivalent of Commander-in-Chief. If like a president didn't exist, they would be, I am the field marshal that governs the war.
Because there was a president. That just wasn't the Captain General. There were 2 separate entities.
The president equivalent would be the speaker.
Yeah. Well, there was a president, then there was also a speaker, and then there was also the Captain General. The president was the technical head of state, and then the speaker was the actual acting authority, and then the commander-in-chief was the Captain General. If I'm
you might be a bit off, but it's fine. Right. It's fine.
Yeah, like it's late. Let's just mention that we spent a lot of time going through the history.
El Capitano was originally they only came in. It's like the Roman dictator kind of thing. Yeah. When shit goes bad, you bring one on. There's always one, but their power depends on whether or not you're at war. Given that they're often at war now, they have a lot of power. Hence Resolution 288.
Yes. Until 2779, the term of appointment for a Captain General was 1 year, and Parliament could just say, you're done.
Yep, and that caused problems in the past.
Yes, it did.
So the League currently, there's 154 provinces, which often consist of only a couple worlds. And here's the voting blocks right now.
Yes, Marik, as you can see, there's a pro-government, opposition, and independent stance. The Silverhawks are fantastic in that they're split basically 3 ways. They don't know what the fuck they want to do. They're just still part of the League.
Meanwhile, Andurian and Regulus, the 2 old powers alongside Oriente and Marik, are often in opposition.
Yes. The root commonality.
It depends on if Marik is on the rise.
And of the others, most of them are independent. A good chunk of them are opposition, and then some of them are pro-government.
Others are just very small, like just
this is a
one-off
single
planets.
world. This is a world or two.
Single or a couple world. Also notice that Marik technically is first among equal, but not by much.
Not by much.
I really like that.
Out of respect.
I really like that. So here are the provinces that go into that. We're not going to go into too much detail here about these.
Yeah, the
Regulus is interesting because it's one of the
Regulus is one of the three originals. They also love nukes.
They're also the main opposition. These are your space Indians who believe in peace through nuclear arms.
Yeah, Duchy of Orloff, which
very minor.
Very minor.
The only other one we'll go into some detail for, I think, is Andurian, but you want to go
Andurian's interesting because Andurian will actually form a succession, will secede from the Free Worlds League after the Fourth Succession War for a while. It's a little complicated. Duchy of Oriente. Duchy of Oriente is the other big one, and that's where House Hallis was from.
And this was also Allison originally, but they died out.
Yeah, House Hallis is now the ones that rule it, and Oriente really wants to get revenge
because they were
the Capellans.
Fucked hard by House Liao.
Oh, they really want revenge, the Capellans, almost as much as the Andurians, almost.
So just because the Silverhawks are kind of interesting, I'll just very quickly look.
Silverhawks are fantastic.
It's a coalition of independent worlds. It's literally a league within a league. It's almost like a guild where they just are combined on one interest. They're not independent. They are independent, but a block because of this one thing.
They're basically like they're like an anarchist state that's within the Free Worlds League. That the only thing they can agree on is that we're part of the Free Worlds League.
Yeah, I mean they have a lot of things in common and they vote in block. Recently, they're starting to split apart because some of them are really for House Marik because of all the wars. They traditionally hated House Marik. But because of all the wars, they kind of have to agree with them.
Right.
But a lot of them, and their whole purpose was fuck House Marik, so a lot of them is still there. And then last but not least, you got independence. Anyway, everyone else doesn't matter.
Well, there's Gibson, but that's only notable because Gibson and the Regulan Free States are breakoffs from the Regulans, and the Regulans like to nuke them.
Yeah.
There you go.
How many factions in Marik do you have that are from Marik just simply because they don't want to be part of the fucking Capellans? How many of those do you have?
That's Oriente, hands down.
That's right Oriente. Now. Let's see, Oriente, Andurian, Orloff, Regulus.
Well, no, Andurian is actually opposed to them, but it's more because they still hate the only reason
they stay inside the Free Worlds League at the moment is because it's a shield against the Capellans.
Well, on top of that, literally they know what it'd be like under the Capellans. They just don't want.
No one wants to be a Capellan.
They want to replace the Captain General with a not Marik again.
Yes, which has never gone wrong, except for every time we've done it.
There was one that didn't do horrible. He was just really mediocre.
Yeah.
There's also the Graham Mariks, which basically they were an early founding family. They interbred so much with Marik that they're basically a cadet line.
Yeah, and then there's the Duchy of Tamarind, which are in a constant civil war.
So here's some details on Parliament. This is actually the here's how you go.
Here's all of your how the politics work.
Floor support, floor opposition.
I like they go into so what is the actual political goals of all of these people inside of the house, inside of the Free Worlds League.
Yep, so they go into detail on the structure too. So if you want to know, the chief deputy of Marik is Lefty Eastwick. He's the government whip. He rounds up the vote, which actually gives you some insight onto that. The floor opposition, it goes into details about their goals. So the Captain General's goals is right here.
Yep, and here's the opposition, which really doesn't want a centralized military. This is one of the big pushes that Janos is going for, because he's realizing that if we're going to be fighting all these states all the time, we need to centralize our military more.
Like the time of cobbled together armies under Confederation and a Captain General.
Yeah, the Mariks have a massive military. The problem is they can't actually leverage it, and if a member state doesn't want to commit forces, they can just say no.
And that's actually screwed them a couple of times.
Yes, it has.
One of which is actually how that one guy Peter lost.
Yeah.
Peter lost because several of the more major worlds, especially under Silages, basically said, screw you.
Just fuck it, we're gone.
Here's
No wonder
now-
they fucking collapsed. This is just a shit show walking.
Yeah, it is.
Well, structurally, it almost makes sense, but then you realize there's just not enough centralization.
Democracy
Yeah.
was a mistake.
Well, there's a lot of moves for centralization, not only from
Even
Janos,
the opposition to a degree, it's just they disagree with Marik being the centralizers because they've seen it before. It was called House Davian.
Yeah,
They've seen it before. They don't want to see that again.
Yeah. Now, the fun bit about this is that they go in through like intelligence. I love what
I like
they
the
call
dropship design of the crew.
the dropship. The dropship crew member looks like he's about to just like fucking murder someone.
He also looks like he's about to get murdered by a xenomorph. I can see him working on something like the Nostromo.
Yeah. The government departments are pretty simple. It's like defense, foreign affairs,
Here's
trade,
Sochi,
taxation,
the government
and then
departments.
intelligence, which I love SAFE. Because SAFE is basically the intelligence agency everybody thinks is completely incompetent. The only reason for that is that their job is to try to keep the Free Worlds League from all murdering one another. It's
Basically,
almost
they target problem
exclusively
people.
internal.
They're like
their
Sabak.
intelligence. Yeah, their intelligence is almost completely internal, but they have some of the best intelligence analysts in the inner sphere.
They're considered a joke, but honestly, the only people that actually beat them decisively is Rom.
When it comes to understanding the data they collect, the only one that beats them is ROM. They very rarely
SAFE
make mistakes. The
are
problem is
masters
getting
of internal intelligence. Now, in terms of external espionage, yeah, they're not great.
They're not great. Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. Their main purpose is to prevent the League from exploding.
I do love their name though, which is SAFE. It's just
that's on purpose. You know it.
I know it is. It's just really funny. SAFE.
Are we talking about the joke now? Yeah.
That is SAFE. Yes.
There's the Ministry
then they talk
of
about
Energy
their
and Communications.
an old Oriente saying, by the way, when we're talking about the Lyran Commonwealth, is never turn your back on a Capellan, but shoot the Lyrans on sight. Yeah.
They don't get along at all.
They do not like the Capellans at all. Even though there is a peace, it is so tenuous, it's barely there.
Well, no, it's the Lyrans they hate, because here's the thing. They both get their money from trade, and there's just a little too much commonality in that.
No, like they do not trust the Capellans whatsoever, is what I mean.
They never.
No one trusts the Capellans, not even the Capellans.
I just said that.
Yeah. Then we go into, of course, ComStar.
Interestingly, they actually get along probably the most. Like if Draconis Combine had a friend, they get along. The closest would be the Free Worlds League.
Yeah,
because they're not bordering anything.
Yeah. And they're both warriors. They're both soldiers. They're both like.
Now the Federated Sons, they didn't really care about until they decided to start working with their mercantile rival and foes for 7 centuries.
Yeah. It's also a problem because, well, good old Hans Davian has a plan, a very, very cunning plan.
Has made them adversaries. Janos Marik has stated privately, had circumstances not placed them on opposite sides, they would have made great allies. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Janos is probably the smartest House Lord aside from Hans in this era. There's
ComStar, which, yeah, they've had troubles with ComStar.
They've had troubles, but they're also quite close with ComStar.
They kind of have to be after.
Yeah. They also are in an intelligence war with ROM.
Don't you like how you see as they get older and then the younger?
Yeah. The current 3026, and then this is when they're like
This Andurian noble looks like a starving artist. It looks like they're gonna teach me about how their performance art of just standing there like a tree is performative, and a great speaking on the concept of perception through the eyes of the entity that it is within.
Yeah, and
art is just the art of the excuse.
They then talk about like the various forms of government that are under it, and it's basically every single form of government. There's several theocracies, for example.
So Andurian has the style of president.
Yeah, they got
Are there any inner? Perhaps I just spaced out on, but are there any inner conflicts?
Principle of Gibson.
Yes, The Gibson is, again, well, it becomes important later, but there you go.
Duke of Grand Marik. What was the question, Biggs? I'm sorry.
Infighting happens within the Free Worlds League.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Why do you think Safe exists?
Not
Why do you
even
think 20 years before the main game, they had a massive civil war between brothers?
Why do you think the Regulans have two separate breakaway states from them?
Not necessarily house conflict, but I'm talking because like you were talking about all these different identities.
Oh,
that
yeah,
exist
yeah.
Oh yeah,
There are. It's usually minor petty squabbles that either Parliament or the Captain General, depending on how serious shit goes, has to deal with.
And again, I'm
Right.
pretty sure the same can happen within like all the other great houses.
Oh, yeah.
too.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just that
how,
the
we
Mariks-
covered the Federated Sons. They actually have an entire province that is looking to do something funny.
Yeah,
It's just with Marik, you have to kind of keep in mind, you not only have the family, which at this point it's mostly okay, but you have a
Mostly.
couple of constituents that are
it's a house fire, but everybody's trying to put out the blaze right now, at least.
yeah.
Except that some people might also be throwing gas on the fire too.
Well, they're
just
throwing
because.
gas on the fire to kick out the Mariks.
Yeah.
They want to keep the Free World League. They just don't want the Captain Generals to rule stuff like they've been for the last couple hundred years.
There's actually quite a few different bits, but they also mentioned that the Free Worlds League, the strengths and weaknesses, and I think this is an important thing. Free Worlds League is the oldest province in the Inner Sphere, antedating even the founding of the Terran hegemony by nearly 2 generations. The ComStar has a lot of trouble with the League because, well, it's independent and it's fragmented and it's hard to predict what it's actually going to do. And every time it looks like it's about to die and collapse, it just keeps going.
So to quote a great Steiner philosopher, I believe the Free Worlds League is the most powerful of all the houses. They've attempted to commit suicide for the past 100 years, and they've yet to die.
It's funny they're anticipating its death, given what happens later down the timeline.
Oh yeah, no, like it's definitely needs to either centralize or die. It doesn't in the end, but
Don't worry, I have a great idea.
it comes back. Don't worry. That's one of the things about it. The Free Worlds League is like a fucking zombie. You cannot kill this fucking thing. It is the equivalent of Spain.
Like Mariks and Davians. Or
So
Mariks
you're
and
saying
Steiners.
Spain needs to die? Are you saying Spain needs to die?
Damn Mariks, they ruined the Free Worlds League.
Who would you say the Franco counterpart is to the Free Worlds League?
Janos, I don't fucking know. Like anyway, the thing that is that
they even make a point when Anton turned against his brother, the reason why he lost was it wasn't because of any legalities, it's because he went to the fucking Capellans for money.
Yeah, so they viewed him all as a traitor. That's the reason why. I love this too, where like reports of their death have been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
Which Rom
that
was Twain that said that. Like the about the Free World. This is regarding the Free Worlds League. Reports of his death have been greatly exaggerated. The interesting thing is that they kind of have a lot of various philosophies. First, of course, is entrepreneurship. The next one is an anti-bionics amendment, which kind of dates to the fact that they have that one guy who went a little crazy.
And Gerald.
Also, it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And
the way of
kind
this is a new one.
Basically,
it's a nihilistic cult of spiritual enervation through total abnegation, denial of everything from vices to necessities, leading to starvation, euphoric nirvana, and self-destruction. The way, as it called itself, would never have become significant
if not for the fact that they managed to gain control for 8 minutes of a broadcast station to several 100 million people in the system, and then killed himself on live television.
What the fuck? He
There's a literal death cult in House Marik.
There's a death cult. They're trying to get rid of it, but the problem is that these guys are acting to some degree as a bunch of religious zealots for who fucking knows.
I'm trying to see the appeal, and I still don't see it.
It's the fact that everything looks like the Free Worlds League is gonna fucking implode. You might as well go out first.
Yeah, but
also,
doing it via starving to death, fucking what?
Also, it's very interesting to note that there are actually quite a few Jews in the Free Worlds League.
Wait, I thought religion didn't play a major role in this game.
Well, they do.
It
it
does.
It
but it's
does
in the background.
That brings up the mercantile aspect. It makes it much more clear now.
Well, actually, to give you an idea, since you are still here, Greg, House Davian book we actually read. They go into detail. There's actually a very big Catholic kind of controversy.
There's a schism.
There's
the Pope on New Avalon,
Terran
and there's the Pope on Earth. Because what happened is that the Pope on Earth got killed during the American Civil War, and one of the few people that was alive was the Bishop on New Avalon. So, assuming that there's basically all the cardinals are dead, we've got to decide what to do now. Declares himself the new Pope, and
because
convinces
as far as
a
they
lot
know, he's one of the preeminent. His bisphoric is one of the preeminent ones in the area.
Fair,
and then a bunch of other priests actually acclaimed, like, yeah, you're Pope.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're Pope. We need a Pope now, and he seems to be the best option.
To be fair to the Catholic Church, I mean, it basically took the fucking apocalypse for everything to get things back to normal.
He didn't do it out of power. He did it because, well, every bishop and cardinal's dead on Rome. So, okay, and then he got acclaimed, and he's like, well, I guess I'm Pope then. And then eventually a new Pope on Terra was founded. And
because there were some cardinals that had actually survived and were able to then elect a new pope. Well, the problem is that there's already a pope that a lot of other people are listening to. It's sort of like a case
that, like a lot of bishops have already affirmed that. Yeah.
So it's kind of a case of like they're both
New Avalon didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The Pope can't actually say.
The Pope can't actually say that New Avalon did anything wrong because they didn't. They tried to preserve the church, but at the same time,
they're not listening to the elected.
They're claiming that they're the rightful Pope by succession, which is technically true because they were acclaimed before another Pope could be elected.
Which has happened. If you're wondering, in medieval history, this actually has happened a few times. Where what would happen
is when a Pope
what would happen is a Pope would die, and sometimes a person would just, through sheer popularity among the outsiders, among the outside church communities, just gain so much momentum as a Pope candidate that even though Rome elects a different person, it doesn't matter.
Or even Rome doesn't even hold an election. They just don't bother.
Actually, because they take a while to do the... They might be getting ready to finally do it, but then they figure it out and then like, well, shit, we'll just take.
Well, shit, we just gotta pick him because he's popular enough.
So
and he's got
New Avalon was a problem, and it became worse because it didn't end with either pope's death,
which is always fun. So there's now an anti-pope,
and that's the problem because in the initial situation, it kind of makes sense.
It just doesn't.
But what happened was when the Pope on Earth and the Pope on New Avalon both died, neither conclave actually picked the other candidate.
Neither conclave got together. That's the other thing. The conclaves didn't get back together because it was kind of tricky to do so in that time.
And
so
they
suddenly
both did it. They both had a papal conclave.
And they're both technically and they're both technically legal papal conclaves because they have direct claim, they have cardinals, they have bishops. It's a complicated situation because they're not excommunicate from each other either, if I remember correctly. They not do that.
They acknowledged it would not work because they've done this before in the Avignon period. It didn't work.
Yeah. So they've basically mutually agreed that you're not excommunicated, but there's now two popes.
You're not even schismatic. You're just in the wrong.
You're person no grata.
Not even that. Like that's
just
the thing.
You have erred. That's it.
You're just wrong. That's all it is. It's that's the wrong pope. That's literally it.
So anyway, here is some details on Judaism for the free worlds. I'm sorry. It's just if you're a fan of theology, looking into how much effort they put into this is very fun. So Here's the thing. In the free worlds, Hasidic Jews are very common. In fact, actually, it's the most common strain of Judaism.
They
In the Free Worlds League, you have a lot of kibbutzes and communes in the Free Worlds League.
There's also more than 150 rabbinical institutes and centers for Talmudic learning, which
But
is
here's the thing: there
pretty
are
impressive.
other like Reform Jews and standard kind of,
Yeah,
and they're just basically there's no different from the rest of the community. It's just you only notice the Orthodox ones.
yeah. Then, of course, you've got the Roman Catholics, the various Protestant
So
branches.
there's no common culture any more than the Bible, so there's a variety of options.
The Protestants are incredibly diverse.
So for Roman Catholicism, which variant do they have here? They
They
have the Society
mention
of Jesus.
they're the Terran Pope of the Vatican.
They've backed they've backed Terran. That makes sense. Just on a community basis. So there's a bunch of Protestant churches too. There's the Free World Protestant Synod, which just kind of assembles the standard Protestants. There's also the fringe groups,
Which is the
which are your Anabaptists, your Hutterites.
There's actually quite a few Hutterites and Mormons, of all places.
Technically, I would argue you technically cannot include Mormon as Christianity. That's a hot take, but it's one because they have their own book.
Oh,
It'd
yeah,
be like
true.
calling it's be like calling the Alawites or the Druze Muslims. They're not technically Muslims.
Yeah.
That's nothing on them. It's just if you have your own book, I think you can't really quite call yourself that. You can call yourself inspired by them, but not quite.
There's also kind of an interesting bit with Islam in that Islam has a bit of a problem if you go into the interstellar space, which is that which direction is Mecca?
Well, no, you can figure it out.
Well, with the rotation of your planet compared to that, all these other things, it can be kind of tricky. Also, going back to Earth during a war zone.
So one of the thing is, there's a problem is it's long ceased to be in harmony. There's a lot of traditional baggage. And on top of that, remember, until Canopus began competing with them, the Free Worlds League got along fairly well and were fairly progressive.
So they weren't exactly the most popular.
Your Wahhabist interpretation of the Quran's not going to work up here, Chief.
Yeah. Mind you, there
also are Muslims. There's a couple of planets that are majority Muslim.
Yeah, they mentioned that there is a black Muslim population.
That's actually the majority of Islam in the Free Worlds League. So that's right.
Tangs and shit, man.
Now, as for Hinduism, so it has a patron, the Salaj family, and they're actually still around, it seems. I was right. So Hinduism actually has a fairly strong... Yeah, well, they run Regulus. House Salaj is the Regulans. And there's a lot of worlds, actually 10% of all worlds in the Free World League are Hindus of some school.
Also, Coyote, when I'm seeing that, I'm like, I don't really know, but
I'm gonna say Amaris did it.
If Amaris probably would have done that, and that's another problem. Is okay. So now, do we pray to the new Mecca or the old Mecca?
No, you
got more schisms.
You build it in the cube. You build the new cube.
You build the murder cube.
You build the giant cube. So Buddhism as well. It's not particularly strong in the Free Worlds, but there are some monasteries.
There's some.
Some myths and legends. They have those, like the concept that
flying Dutchman, and then where the hell is Krensky gone, and why he's probably become some sort of bionic monster?
Because this is before the clans, so
yeah, they're not wrong.
So the people of the free world find it difficult to embrace modes of thought that can't be measured in terms of profit and loss. And so that's a bit of a problem.
This is also why, like, religiously, there's not a lot of...
There's a strong agnostic, apatheist bent to them.
Yeah, there's...
It's there, but unlike Davian, which is not, like, completely crazy about faith, but, like, the Davian... The
Davians are
Federated
Catholic.
Sun tends to be more religious.
Yeah, like they're not as religious. Their military is where it gets really interesting, though.
So here's the command structure. Basically, the head of everything's the Captain General.
And they've got 60 full mech regiments, 700 regiments of other bits. All this. The problem is that 40% of the mech forces are what the Captain General
So
can
here's
use.
the Oriente
and
Hussars, and I like their
50%.
uniform.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot
mech
of
regiment,
fun.
individual battalions. Then there's a division for House Marik is about 8,000. Armor regiments actually vary in size based on what world they're from.
Yeah,
And that's another thing. There's a consistent infantry, but it's not necessarily the same for each world.
yeah, because you might have some that have artillery or field guns, some might not. Some might be jump infantry, some might
Well, on
be
top of
anti-mech.
that, like it's kind of the warlord China problem where, to give you an idea, the National Revolutionary Army was supposed to, I believe they were supposed to have on hand something like on paper it was supposed to, I think, be either 9,000 or 6,000 men.
Yeah.
In
let's also
actuality, it was closer to 4,000 because a very common thing would be to sell the guns. Or to overstate your forces so that you get more profits and cuts.
It gets weirder, okay? So because now you got to remember that because you've got 3 different major powers within the space, there's actually 3 different major militaries with their own rank structures.
Yep, you have as mentioned, the Orientes, which have a different uniform and color, and they basically are interested in their domain first. Andurians, which are the same way. This is an aerospace fighter.
Yep.
And here are the different ranks, and this is something you have to just frickin' deal with.
Yeah, and
if you're looking at Marik ranks, here you go, right here. There's the general, the Captain General. But if you're in the Oriente ranks, good frickin' luck.
And
here's the Andurian ranks. Have fun, bucko. Thankfully, Regulus seems to have bent the knee and actually adopted Marik ranks insignias.
Yeah, it's just to make things good. I love their comments on their military uniforms, by the way, on page 85. The profusion of military attire among the Free Worlds League forces is truly one of the Army's most extraordinary features. It is a wonder to me that the different units of the League don't spend half their time shooting at each other.
I am desperately trying to find it.
Page 85.
Oh, here we go. Sorry about that, viewers.
Also, there is the planet of Wisconsin. I just wanted to mention that. It's just called Wisconsin.
Oh god. Andurian, why do you have Thane? Why do you have a rank called Thane?
Because the Andurians are fucking... Yeah.
So here's an Oriente Fusilier. I actually really like that uniform.
Yeah, Oriente's color scheme is really good.
I love that infantry uniform.
I also like that submachine gun thing he's got. That actually looks pretty baller.
It looks like, it kind of reminds me, it has Grease Gun and Tommy Gun vibes if they had a baby.
Yeah. They mentioned that this...
Senior officer.
Yeah.
Here's a tech.
Yep.
Hey,
then
look, it's Moltar. It's Moltar planning to defeat Space Ghost once and for all.
I love the old mech warrior uniforms where it's like literally it's just like a guy in his skinnies and a fucking stupid helmet.
I love this uniform.
It's so silly. I like it. So here's the major military units. You've got the Free Worlds Guards, the Atrean Hussars, not the Atrean Hussars, the Atrean Dragoons, the Marik Militia.
There is the Hussars afterwards, yeah.
Oh, wait, there are the Dragoons and the Hussars?
Yeah, the Atrean Hussars, and then the Dragoons, and then the Marik Militia. It doesn't matter. Okay. This is just all the units. I'm sorry, we must move quickly, but they have neat unit names. They have regimental sigils, which you don't usually see nowadays anymore. Not in the role playing game. I mean, like when you actually make a minis war game, you don't see this type of dedication anymore, and that is depressing.
They actually, Battletech still continues to make little minor unit emblems and things like that.
Yeah, but more often than not, you don't see this anymore. To a degree, kind of with G-dubs, but it's mostly just Space Marine chapters that have their own logos.
Yeah, I mean, every faction in Battletech gets this treatment, though. Like
that's the beauty of it. All are equal in the eyes of Battletech.
Yeah, then there's like the Protectorate Guard, which is from the Protectorates, obviously. You've got the
dress
Oriente
uniform.
Fusiliers.
I like
You got the Oriente Fusiliers, the Marik Guard, which is the other major Marik unit, because you got the militia and the guard, and then, makes sense.
CAs of Oriente,
The Syrian
Guard,
Lancers,
Silverhawk Irregulars.
The Silverhawk Irregulars are amazing. I want to note this right here. They talk about the
They're widely different, even from lance to lance.
Yes, the Silverhawk Irregulars are very literally just irregulars. They have to contribute to the military somehow.
They're the equivalent of Dad's army.
Yeah, they're the equivalent of like we've got like 30 lads that we got down to the pub that we taught how to drive tanks. Can we join the military? And that is the
It's like, okay, so what type of lance do you got? Well, here's this piece of shit, and here's this piece of shit, here's this piece of shit. Oh, and we just have this piece of shit. And it's
and then we got the Atlas Mark II. What?
Like they somehow
found it.
They just somehow stole like one of those atlases that you could deep drop as House Steiner, and it's in the same lance as a fucking Irby.
And then on the page after this is
the other two are riflemen, just inexplicably. Come on, don't you like that lance of 2 riflemen, an Atlas, and an Irby?
That is pretty ridiculous.
That's pretty cursed.
But this is the Griffin's company of the
that Griffin has brain damage.
Part of the Silverhawk Irregulars. Look at this art.
Serial killer, James Bond villain who dies in the first act. Serial killer, mass murderer.
I love
the man
Buck.
who masturbates in a movie theater. Serial killer, sexual predator, pothead, and also
coolest
pothead.
Guy. No, Buck is the coolest guy in the room. Like, just flat out. Look at this man.
Do you like my description?
Earmuffs. He's wearing earmuffs and like sunglasses.
This feels like a cast, like an ensemble cast for a very terrible 70s TV show.
Yeah. Oh,
is that Nicolas Cage? Probably.
Then we've got the Oriente Hussars, which are the slightly less famous version. Then there's the Defenders Van Durian.
Look at this beautiful thing.
Look at this dude. And I think that's supposed to be a Thunderbolt, an OG Thunderbolt.
No, it's not a Thunderbolt. It's it was partially one, probably.
Yeah, that's true. Then of course the Defenders of Endurian, the Stuart Dragoons.
Mm-hmm.
The Orloff Grenadiers are some of the really cool ones.
Honorable lineage, each Grenadier regiment's in classic fashion. Yep, a rare privilege, so good luck, bucko.
You have to, except for special dispensation by the Earl, membership in the regiment is limited to citizens of the Duchy who have at least 5 years of service as mech warriors and have at least a Distinguished Service Award or a member of the Order of the Saber.
Yep, you gotta be the best.
Primogeniture does not guarantee membership for the descendant, though preference is given to legacies. Basically,
anyway, mercenary units, because, dude, we're like, we need to go.
We need to finish this off. First off, 21st Centauri Lancers. Pretty important in the long run. Smithson's Chinese, Caesar's cohorts, who would kind of end up being Marines, I guess. The Smithson's Chinese bandits, who are important for being dirty bastards very long term in the line. Clifton's Rangers, who don't do much. Langdorf Lancers also don't do much.
They're just exist.
Yeah, Ficita's Fusiliers are actually really interesting.
They're remnants of the Rim Republic's Tartan Brigade.
Yes, they used to be part of the Rimworld's Republic's army.
And on top of that, they fought for Ameris.
Yeah, they actually managed to survive, which is kind of crazy. There's the Headhunters, the Martian Cuirassiers, and then Carson's Renegades, who are one of the larger ones. They then have your good old neck deployment table.
Here you go. Look at all these. Here's their experience level, their loyalty, and where they're from.
Yep. And all the medals and decorations. So there's quite a few good ones.
There's the gunner too.
Yeah. And
Crest of the Eagle, I like.
Crest of the Eagle is the classic one.
Silver Cross is also pretty good looking.
Distinguished Server Awards. Distinguished Service Awards depends on the amount of documented enemy kills. So 500 tons worth of mech is what you require at minimum to join the Grenadiers. I want to note that. You'd had to kill roughly what 20 Urbies. Yeah, pretty good.
On top of that, it is considered unthinkable for anyone whose family has earned one of those to sell it.
Yeah.
Rating ribbons, basically, here you go.
Yeah, I love the Andurian commemorative awards because the Duchy of Andurian have rarely seen combat action, so they've made it up for by issuing more special decorations than any other league state.
I like how they're just so useless.
Yeah. Then they go into
No, they mentioned any Andurian soldier whose dress uniform doesn't look like a veritable fruit salad is either raw recruit or a massive screw up.
They then go into the major military academies: the Allison Mech Warrior Institute, the Lloyd Merrick Stanley Aerospace School.
So Allison Mech Warrior Institute's probably one of the subsidized ones.
It's one of the new Olympian ones. It's one of the most prestigious. It was usually the Captain General's school of choice. The Lloyd Merrick Stanley Aerospace is for aerospace pilots, obviously. The Princefield Military Academy serves mostly for mech warriors, and it is extremely competitive.
It's actually probably seen as even higher than Allison, which is impressive. It's just it doesn't have the Captain General stamp of approval.
Not as often, and it's also because it's a very elitist in the Free World League.
It's also keep in mind it's in Grand Duchy of Oriente, which that kind of informs why you don't see a lot of Merricks choose this one.
Yeah. The Hero Training Institute is basically a scam. It's a scam. A scam that occasionally produces good pilots.
They literally, it's been blasted along every element of League popular code, from vid tapes to matchbook covers.
Think you can pilot a mech? So do we.
Have no stone unturned to keep their expenses of an overhead to a bare minimum. The it's a for-profit college. I love going into deep dives about these trash fires.
Yeah, that's what it is.
If you need a rabbit hole after this stream, if you're crazy enough to if you like our stream, go into rabbit holes for for-profit colleges. They're a nightmare, and deliciously so.
I do love though that they mentioned that every Hero Institute is actually it's not better than maybe 3 months of an actual military school, and maybe gives you a dozen hours of actual piloting, but that's enough usually to get you into a military unit or into a mercenary force, which can actually get you into a mech. So it's not like it's completely useless.
Well, on top of that, they do give you a minimal education. They mention for every one of these for-profit piles of garbage, at the end of the day, your degree actually matters. Not your degree, but your flight training matters. There's 5 others that try to do the same thing, and they're even bigger scams.
Yeah. So they're tolerated mostly because of that.
Well, they're tolerated because you meet the bare minimum, and you'll pick it up as you go along either in combat or in training.
Yeah, the main thing you've got to remember here too is that the Free Worlds League does not have the active technological strivings of Davian, the raw industrial natural resource base of the Steiners, the extreme centralization of House Karita, or the Capellans being the Capellans and just devoting everything.
Or the Capellans willing to fight to the nines at all times.
Yeah, so their battle mech production is kind of low, which is weird because they make some of the best mechs.
Well, that's because some glorious tech support was offered. It was refused, and ever since then they had trouble.
Well, the main thing is that they usually don't have assault weights, but their heavies are some of the best that you can get. Namely, the Orion, which is essentially a pocket assault mech to some people, Warhammers, which are solid enough, and they have a lot of Marauders. They have their own special variety of Marauder, which I really like. So, I love the 3M, mostly because I like the fact that the Free Worlds League basically says that we can't make as many PPCs as anybody else, so we just use large lasers. Just just use heavy large lasers or LRMs in place of where you'd normally put a PPC, and it
They
works.
do still retain, even though there's a lot of damage to them. They still retain, to some degree, aerospace dominance, though.
Yeah, they have very good fighter crews.
So, yeah, they make up for it in their support equipment. Interestingly.
Yeah, their mech forces aren't the greatest, but their other equipment is pretty solid.
Here are some of the production facilities. They give you ideas on. I don't know if it'd be their output or how many facilities can produce this or the parts for it.
Yeah. A major thing that they mention here is that, except for the short period, the assault mechs produced in the Free Worlds League have been Awesomes, Battlemasters, and Goliaths. Goliaths being that four-legged AT-AT knockoff.
Yep, Awesomes, Battlemasters, and Goliaths. They don't make too many of them anymore because they lost control over Carver 5.
However, this is the most important thing. They're possibly the most flexible and mobile armed force remaining, because the conventional armor units are really good.
Well, they have to be, because it's cheaper to build. So basically, because of their dearth of anything above heavy, and even then they prefer mediums because just the industry required to build heavies is pretty annoying, they have to actually invest in the other fields. And combine that with actually having aerospace units that kick shit up when they get going.
Yeah.
They're really dangerous. Like, even their crap that isn't battle mechs are dangerous.
Yeah, it's very much, if you want to play a combined arms unit, like, it's not a bad idea to look at Marik.
If you do not like how sometimes you are forced to just have specific, like, just all mechs, if you want to bring in, like, infantry or tanks or airspace, these are your boys.
Yeah, Davian also does this, but
not as much, because they can rely on assault mechs.
Yeah. Like, regimental combat teams are a thing, but, like, Marik's is much more of an ad hoc, like, we're gonna do this because we gotta do this. They're cross-trained more than that. There's not dedicated units. It's whoever can be rotated in to fill the gap.
Look at the teeth unit with the man with the squarest head in the world. Look at the deformities.
Oh my god.
Look at his skull deformity. He was never the same.
What
after
is up
the
with
accident.
your face?
What's wrong with your face?
But yeah,
I had a stroke.
But yeah, they go a bit into
in his skull. Don't show this again.
They go into, like, a bunch of, like, silly cultural things. This is stuff that you can usually skip. It's fun fluff, though.
Yep, details on technical institutes.
And then they actually give you
Business School's Loyalty Theatrical Academy.
Yeah, if you scroll down finally, this is amazing, by the way.
The vid tape finals. They have video filming finals.
Well, that's, because
Leisure. There's a bunch of options for their crime and punishment.
They like to watch games. They like to gamble.
So here's 4-card Drax. So if you want to learn how to, here's a card game you can actually bring out if you really hate your players.
52 dice.
Wait. So was this is this just? I'm playing a lot of Witcher 3. So is this world's version of Gwent?
Might be, because here's the thing, right? You can play it with a normal deck of cards because it's just you count aces as one.
It's related to poker. It's actually an evolution of it.
Oh no, I just meant like weird game shoved into another game.
So the suites are Marik, Steiner, Kurita, and Davian, and the cards rank similar. You have the 10 cards. You have Lancer, which replaces Jack or Knave, Rifleman, which replaces Queen, and Regent, which replaces King. There doesn't seem to be an ace, though. Oh no, there is one.
Ace is one.
I'm brain dead. So aces are low in this game.
Yeah.
First card is dealt face down.
And then, but the thing is that the 3 top cards have no value. Lancers, Riflemen, and Regents have no value, but they can change
value. So Regents, like your King equivalent, boosts value by 1. Your Rifleman, which is your Queen, decrease value by 1. Lancers
of Marik or Kurita, you increase the value of all cards in the same suite by 1. Lancers of Davian.
Steiner and Davian actually makes a lot of sense though, because they really hate Steiner.
And they don't care too much about Davian. So if you receive the Lancer, Rifleman, or Region as a whole card, you keep it face down. If you push your card over a 10 or below 1, it goes around the corner. So basically, it would go from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1. And if you can have from
It's a
linking
little
the hands,
confusing. It works like poker, but from what I can understand, yeah, you have the face down card, and then you get 4 cards. Until you have 4 cards.
then there's the page on safe, which I enjoy. Safe.
It causes some flexibility because what Lancers do is they limit suits. So you could have like a 3 of the equivalent of a 3 of spades and like a 4 of hearts. No, 3 of spades and a 4 of clubs. And if you have House Marik Lancer as your whole card, that'll become a pair.
Yeah. So
well, actually, no, it won't because it won't because of it'd have to be the opposite suit.
Yeah,
but you can get some surprises like a 3 of clubs and a 4 of hearts is now a pair because the Lancer decreases or increases a value.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to play a poker style game. Like, it's complicated, but it's not like super complicated.
Yeah, and here's Captain Dallas and a cokehead. Smile.
Oh no, it's oh god no, it's the guy from Forgotten Weapons.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ian McCullum, and this is me. I'm Ian McCullum, and today we'll be looking at the Lord's Light PPC.
Here's more on safe.
Safe gets the name in the acronym is based on an old saying, and the meaning's now been lost.
They don't
Bullshit.
Know.
They don't know.
They go into detail about that. Safe in the ComStar. This is just the spies. Here's their social economic background. They're laissez-faire, hands off.
They're laissez-faire. They had some stuff. Here's their talk about how their currency exchanges, and then a bunch of their corporations.
Protectionism is becoming an issue. Succession wars, and here's their inflation value.
Yeah, they even include that. They basically say that
bills.
They basically say that an M bill is equal to about $3.50 US in 1988.
That's not good.
Well, I mean, $3.58 to a single M bill, that's not terrible. I mean, a speeder rental's about $30 a day.
Okay, so income laborer per month, so 350, and then another. Oh crap.
It's not a lot of money, I know. But
you live as a whole ball.
Yeah, mind you, so does everyone in the industry according to this. It's kind of silly.
Whole ball.
Yes.
So here's the industries for those wondering.
Yeah, the cool ones are Irian Technologies, which does a lot of very interesting designs, especially coming into the future.
Yeah, they're mech builders.
They're a fun one. There's Curtis Hydroponics, which if you wanted to do a game where you're playing mercenaries, playing for someone like this is pretty fun too.
They research agriculture.
Yeah, there's Earthworks, the Free World Leagues, which is just one of those multi-nation things that gets in and around.
They build mostly industrial mechs.
Yeah, there's some other just entertainment companies.
Holographics, Free Flight, which is just
Yeah, there's Flame Tech, which is they're best known for building flamers.
Metaquick Services, it's basically Dock Wagon.
Yeah.
You have the equivalent of Dock Wagon.
You've got High Point Traders, which is the small corporation that was around during the Star League. It was teetering the brink of bankruptcy 5 years ago when its president Hugo Schmatz placed it on the table of a high-stakes game of 4-card Drax and lost. Its new president has managed to make enough money to expand its operations. It's just a trading company and may or may not be a front for smuggling now.
Yep. Trade with the other states, yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where the internal economy of the Free Worlds League is actually pretty impressive.
But it makes a lot of its best money
outward and with the periphery. The League's wealth is made from trade rather than manufacturing. Its economy is more vulnerable to the ravages of war than those of the other successor states. To date, House Marik has managed to keep its major markets open and in some cases has even found new ways to profit.
Which is very impressive given that people constantly go, it'll die any day now.
the league's military production capacity is no match to that of the 3 larger ones, but it's still capable of manufacturing a very wide array of weaponry. The only downside is it cannot produce large amounts of heavy and assault mechs to match Steiner, but basically nobody can because Hesperus is cheating.
So what happens is Capellan was never a high trade force because Capellans are insane and awful and trash and distrustful. It's starting to pick up, but again, trade routes are still an issue because Liao is so obsessive with controlling everything.
Yeah, and then of course Commonwealth. No,
they fight too much in the same markets.
The interesting thing is
Marik
that
likes to play middle management usually.
Yeah, they like to play middleman between Davian and Combine if they can.
Well, not only that, but like one of the things, and this is one of the interesting things, despite hating how Steiner and the Lyrans, they actually serve as middlemen to selling a lot of their industrial equipment to other powers.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting in that respect.
Yeah. There's a lot of interdependency in the sphere when you consider the trading connections. They also go through the various
There's
important people.
There's a mild weeaboo stage, actually, in the Free World League. They actually really much admire the hyper-centralization and murder boner that Kurita has.
I don't blame them.
So you have a bunch of...
I do not blame them at all.
So things like tatamis, sushi, anime, those are very popular.
The interesting one is also that the economic wealth determines parliamentary representation in the Free Worlds League. You've got to remember this.
That doesn't sound like
remember, this is originally a trade league.
Out of the 4 founding houses, I mean, one got absorbed and eaten. I think that was the not Regulans.
It was 3.
No, it's actually when you say that. I was saying reminds me. It reminds me of Athens' first democracy.
There's a strong hint of that. That's kind of one of their weaknesses. But yeah, Federated Sons they actually traded with decently because of their lack of war. But because of them joining Steiner, that's dried out.
Yeah. And then there's just personalities.
Which was a common moneymaker. Yeah. Here's the personality. Here's Janos. He wants to die. I don't blame him.
He wants to die, yeah.
Here's Rafsani.
Yep. And then there's
she's I'm going to say she is how the kids say a hole. No, I'm not even kidding. Through her bed hopping, so that's how she has her power. Here's Duggan. Look at him. Look at this man.
Look at his beard.
Yeah.
Thomas is going to be the next successor, which is weird, but
that's not going to go well probably because
it does not go well at all.
Well, because remember, Duggan's the oldest.
Well, then there's
he also is a complete thief and cheat.
Yep.
There's Therese. She told Dad to fuck off and married someone he said was not good for her.
But she did it anyway.
She did it anyway, and she's not that. Like,
here's
her
Tommy.
high
He's
virtues.
gonna be in for a bad time.
Tommy was part of ComStar for a while. Spent several cycles of duty on there, and has been. Well, he's back in the league, and he just married. He's soft-spoken, intelligent, reserved, a researcher, and is considered a highly respected member of ComStar.
He's gonna fuck it up anyway. Here's Paul. Look, that's all you need to know.
Oh my god. Married with an infant daughter, Paul is a bookish, unathletic sort who rarely appears at state functions except on his father's request. He was alone among his siblings, and then he maintained contact with Thomas during his year in ComStar, and his own interest in science was spurred by Thomas. They get along very, very well.
Yep. Here's Christian. She also looks like La Gablina.
I don't fucking know. Then there's Duncan. Look at Duncan. Look at this Chad.
Duncan has at least Duncan is a well-known serial killer. He has actually over 100 in his basement.
Yeah. I love that they've got the picture of our good old Shane Lefty Eastwick, the MP for the Merrick Commonwealth, and the
man who considers alcoholism every day.
That's just Tommy Lee Jones, except I don't think did Tommy Lee Jones look like that in 1988?
No. He wasn't that old and decrepit yet. But
Jesus.
So this is Eastwick contemplating alcoholism every day and rejecting it because he saw what happened with Ewan.
Look at this guy.
There's Hector, who
he looks like the what's his name? You know the picture of the guy in the bow tie?
He looks like he's wanted for a Florida Man style crime.
Then there's this fucking nutcase.
Doesn't Hector look like you would see his face on the headline like Florida man found naked using alligator skull as weapon to rob a fucking bank.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Next guy looks absolutely bugfuck.
So this man probably is supporting the death cultist. He's probably embraced the death cult of ARM.
Yeah. He's been subjected to 3 recall attempts. He's actually, if I remember correctly, the Council's Minister of Taxation since the turn of the century. So he's lasted a while. Then there's Hollis, and this guy looks unfortunate.
It's Robbie Rotten's illegitimate love child. He is number 1.
Then there's the next guy who this is a rough 29.
So this is actually a 39-year-old man lying about his age.
Then you get Vincente Orloff.
Vincente is tired with life.
And then Dame Catherine Humphreys, who just...
I'm sorry, when you say Orloff, I'm reminded of Orlok. I'm just thinking vampire.
It would be great if they put like just Nosferatu there instead of Vincente.
It would fit. Irian Technologies, this guy here looks... I don't know how he looks.
Sigmund Hughes, he
looks... That's about all I can say.
He looks like he was caught in a minor drug sting that he'll only serve 3 months of prison for, but get out fine probably like a month early. He looks like he got caught in a minor drug sting operation.
Yeah.
Here's a corrupt man. Here's Corey Chang, Mr.
Corey
Smuggler.
Chang. Yeah, and then man who is aspiring to be Hitler, but without the United Mustache after that.
Pedro Erlingen. He looks like San Giorgio after the plane accident.
He does, doesn't he? He's actually very, very rich, despite being 40, and now has a lot of suitors because he managed to salvage a... I love his special skilled powers. Pedro still possesses the ancient, unintelligible map to the Star League storehouse that his father gave him.
He found an actual jump ship. That's probably why.
That's pretty good. And then there's like all the planets, which we could go into that later. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's Atreus is the home realm of House Marik.
Yeah, and then they go by like, oh, here's the various unaffiliated worlds, and
here's Marik itself, but Atreus is the main capital. We're not going into this.
We're not.
Sorry. It's really cool. They go into details. They show the flags. Here's the Principality of Regulus, which is very, very important. Here's the Silverhawk League. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, there's a really good chicken walker here. Look at him.
Yeah, that's a locust.
Look at that locust.
Old classic locust art.
Little chicken walker.
And then on towards the end here, we get 2 very, very neat things. You get a map of the Free Worlds League, which actually shows all the member states in their little bubbles, along with their names.
Here you go. Yep, the American Commonwealth, which it's not actually that big. Like the Stuart Commonality is almost as large.
No, that's not the Stuart Commonalty. You're thinking of the Principality of Regulus that looks about as large. The Stuart Commonality is the really small state right there. Yeah.
So you see the little circle, the little light grays. Those are influences, and then the others are non-aligned.
Yeah.
You can see why House Marik has problems.
Yeah, because take a look at this, right? Look at the Andurians, right? They control some of the most important worlds in the Free Worlds League, namely Shiro 3, which is a huge mech manufacturer.
Yep.
There's the Protectorate, which controls a decent amount of worlds nobody gives a shit about. The Duchy of Oriente, who's right on the border. The Duchy of Orloff, who's very small, also right on the border. A couple of other provinces. The Stuart Commonalty, which kind of helps out Marik. The Graham Marik Duchy, which is just 3 worlds. And then the Regulans, who nobody likes. Because they nuke everyone.
And then there's Gibson right over there. And then there's the Regulan Free States, which have left.
Regulus, because who wants to be Regulan?
And there's and I think Camlan here, Camlan right there, is also a breakaway.
Yeah.
I also think maybe a couple breakaways here too. Newcastle, Norcus, or whatever.
Yeah. Then you get like a fun family tree for the last
here you go.
Almost 1,000 years.
This is a glorious family tree. It's nice and big.
It's nice and big. It gives you all the information you really need.
This reminds me of Tolkien, because in Return of the King, Tolkien had an entire thing which went through Hobbit family trees.
Yeah. And then there's even a bit about the line of succession for the Captain Generalcy, and a partial Marik family tree involved with it. Which...
Yeah, because there's a couple of Captain Generals that were not Marik. They were not good, but still.
And then there's a list of worlds. And
here's your planet guide, which gives every detail and the affiliation.
All the coordinates. And then at the end, here's the bit on the back that would sell this. The Civil War of 3014 is over. Captain General Janos Marik emerged triumphant, but at what cost?
Marik had lost his brother, his wife, and his confidence. The realm he rules, the Free Worlds League, weakened by over 2 centuries of warfare with the Lyran Commonwealth and the Capellan Confederation, is being torn apart by the diversity that was once its greatest strength. Yet the winds of change blow through the inner sphere. Marik has entered into an alliance with the Draconis Combine and his former enemies, the Capellans, an alliance that may tip the balance of power for centuries to come. This ComStar report on House Marik in the Free Worlds League has dozens of full-color illustrations depicting the League personalities' daily life and military regalia, and they were not lying. Classified documents on League and various League factions, armed forces, military structure, and they aren't lying. Well, let's go into the equal sign. I think Biggs is dead. It's okay. We can revive him later.
Still here.
Yeah. So miracles. You're still here, Greg.
Greg made it.
Yay! Actually, I'm gonna be. This is just me being completely honest. I actually really sobered up as it went on.
Yeah, I mean it's dry enough to do that.
So I'm gonna rate this book amazing because I really love they go into minutiae. The Succession War section is kind of awkward, but that's just because that always requires a string of idiot balls for it to work.
Yeah.
I will say that I liked this take on the Succession War more than Davian's take. Oh, I just realized I accidentally have lore ramblings in the title. Oopsie doopsie.
I mean, it is a lore rambling.
It was.
Hey, what are you talking about? This is 100% a lore ramble.
But yeah, I genuinely really loved it. I actually like that they went into the character reasonings for why the idiot ball works. In this case, he has had 30 years to develop a 1.5-sided rivalry. It's not fully one-sided. With the big dick Kerensky, who embarrassed him repeatedly. And he is a man who idolized Napoleon. And Napoleon was not one to take slights. Especially since he himself was also a tiny man whose father neglected him.
Yeah. It's quite... I think that one of the things that makes the Free Worlds League so interesting is that there's so many little different factions within it that actually seem like...
You could totally play... Like, if you want to play... We back our peace with nuclear weapons, Indian land. You can.
Yeah, you can play Regulans if you want to, and it's like, oh, like, what do they do? And it's like, they just bring the TAC nukes.
They not only bring the TAC nukes, but they oppose House Marik. They have their own desires. They want to reinstate the parliamentary power because that's where they get a lot of their strength from. But on the other hand, in hypocrisy, they're even bigger tyrants than Marik, to the point where they've broken apart twice.
Yeah, like, no, there's not a lot of other people that want to be Regulans, and it's just like, yeah, you get the...
House Alaj is psychotic. And if you don't want to play that, you can play the Andurians, who literally would be totally fine with not being part of the Free League. But the problem is the Capellans.
Yeah.
And
they
work with House Alaj to overthrow Marik, but that's it. Or you
Yeah.
could play Oriente, who traditionally don't really cotton on well with Marik because they're kind of the fourth of the four powers. But they are, because in this time they have to agree on this thing. We gotta keep the guys
kick
in
the
charge.
Capellans back. Yeah. Like
Or you
we
can play
need to
Marik
centralize.
themselves. You could play with depressed, looking at miserable at life Janos. You can play under him. Or you can play under any of them. You could play Jebediah Zebedee and his Silverhawk boys as they liquor up Florida Man style and do deep strikes into Capellan lines. You could totally do a Silverhawk irregular.
Hell, a Silverhawk irregular force is basically an excuse for I just paint whatever the fuck I want on these
If
mechs.
you want,
and
if you want Florida Man regiments, just use Silverhawk irregulars.
That's what they are. They're just Florida men. It's an entire regiment of Florida men.
If you want to play the prim elite best of the best, you either go with Oriente, like you graduated from Princefield, or an Orloff regiment.
Yeah, like one of the Grenadiers, which, there you go. Like there's a lot of options.
I think I know why I like it, and I know it's not because they bar. It reminds me of why in Warhammer Fantasy the Empire is so interesting.
Because it's got so many little factions within it and little things going on.
And that is interesting. Davian has that to a degree because there is a disloyal Duke who is kind of trying to find a way to supplant Davian, and if failing that, split away.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They've also got some pretty interesting. They've got just got like
and then there's
weird,
you have
bizarre
to
history.
worry about Steiner. You have to worry about the opposition to the marriage with the Lyrans, and that's interesting in its own way. But with Marik, it's all homegrown problems that require homegrown solutions.
Yeah.
And that's a lot more interesting.
Because here's the thing, and also in terms of mech designs, the Mariks have some of the best in the sphere. It's insane because their version of the Wolverine is the best intro tech Wolverine. I'd take it over the Kurita version every time. The Kurita version might have more armor and heat sinks, but the Marik version has a large laser and it jumps. It's good. It punches way above its weight. The Awesome is just a fantastic mech. The Stalker is another mech that the assault mech that the Free Worlds League has quite a bit of because it's an Irian it's an Irian built one. It's really good too. The Awesome is 3 PPCs and enough heat sinks to keep firing those babies indefinitely, which in intro tech terms is fucking terrifying. It's a bubble of death that has more armor than most mechs its tonnage. It's slow, but it doesn't need to move fast to kick your ass. Stalker is just the Stalker. It'll overheat and kill itself most of the time, but it's still kind of a neat mech. There's also like a couple of like the smaller designs that they have, like the Hermes and all this, and the Clint, that just have a lot of character. And then the classic combination of the Centurion and the Trebuchet. Like the medium mechs for House Marik are really good. They have a fun variety.
I don't know any of this meta, but I'll take your word for it.
It's more like their designs are interesting, and
that's
they're
fair
not
enough. I don't recognize any of them by name, but I know some of our viewers certainly do. And they're either agreeing with you or think you're a big, big dummy.
Yeah. There's a lot of really iconic mechs that
And here's something I also like about House Marik more than the others. They mention and they emphasize the combined arms aspect.
Yes, Davian does this as well, but with Marik,
not
it's
as
sort
much.
of almost...
I remember reading it, and they focused more on the mechs. They just brought up that they do have aerospace fighters and armored as well. Just not. They just don't focus on it like they do here.
Yeah, like with this, it's like if you're playing a Marik force, like take a tank. Take a couple light mechs and a few heavy tanks, and be like, yeah, this is you've got some Silverhawk irregulars here and a unit from the Marik militia that have to work together. Here you go.
Yep, and it's Silverhawk irregulars. There's a few. There are Marik militia, and last but not least, a regiment of Oriente, a mech regiment of Oriente have to be here too. Mainly because they got separated from the main body, so there's a mech company from Oriente too.
Yeah, or a lance from a lance of like cavalry mechs has arrived to save the day from the hussars or whatever. You know, like
yeah,
you can do a lot of fun with that.
Oh, look, we're getting our butts ripped by the Capellans, but look, they're on the horizon. There's the Orlock Grenadiers. They're coming.
Yeah, there's a lot of character to the Marik regiments.
Which you don't get in Davian, and I
The-
don't
the-
think we're
there's
going to get them anywhere else in the Great Houses.
You do in Kurita, and you do somewhat in Steiner, but the Capellans have sort of a mixed bag regiment approach, where there's like some that are really cool, but those are like the warrior houses, and those are kind of boring at the same time. It's weird. The Kuritans have an interesting variety that I do think is actually one of the neatest things about House Kurita is that the being such a large realm and such a militarized realm, there's actually a lot of different regiments at play within them with their own rivalries and some really neat standout ones. That like the Ghost regiments, the Legions of Vega, and the Arcab Legion are all really, really interesting, and I'm disappointed more people don't play them.
By the way, what do you think of this book, Greg? Since you are completely blind and I'm mostly blind.
It feels like this is not to be not this is not to be offensive because you guys know me, but it was slightly sounded. It kind of feels like if remember those pictures that Biggie showed us of historical paintings that have been modified where someone shitpost put battle mechs in them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, those.
Yeah,
It kind of
It does
feels
feel
like
like
I'm
that,
reading
yeah.
this, but it's a book.
Kind of.
yeah.
I
like,
mean, it is done in the form of historical documents, so.
No, I mean, yeah, it feels like I'm just reading a lot of history instead of a lot of game.
Well, that's the
these
thing.
weren't
It's a
meant to be
pure
game
fluff
books.
Like I
book.
said, like I'm saying, you guys, no, obviously you know me, so you know that's not really a complaint. I'm just noting it.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
fair enough. To give you an idea, at some point, I think we might have to actually knuckle down and grind on the actual crunch book, the main manual.
Like on a crunch book.
Because when you tell me
Which
me
ones?
stuff about, well, here's the thing: when you say stuff like PPC 3 or whatever, my brain doesn't understand.
Okay, well,
The only thing I understand is AC, which is autocannon, and that's about it.
PPC means particle projector cannon. Think of basically an energy version of an autocannon.
Okay, I kind of get, but I'd have to actually get into the guts.
Yeah, like the best way to compare it is that
Like, there's
the
a reason
AC-10,
when we did Horrible Mech Knight, I just suggested cursed ideas, and you designed them
Yeah,
because I don't know jack.
I designed the Goliath 1B, which is a Royal Regiment version of the Goliath, which is the most cursed idea possible. Like, why would you make a royal version of the Goliath? It's such a weird it's such a weird mech. Because it's basically like a walking tank. It was based off of an something from, I want to say, Fist of the Sun Dugram, but I could be completely wrong on that. I don't think it was from Macross. It's a really silly looking mech. But
You say this
it's a
like most
weird
mechs
mix of
aren't silly.
historical and wargame with focus on historical. Not really. Like, there's a lot of mechanic stuff once you get out of the weeds. We're just in the weeds because, well, lore ramblings tends to be easier to get into.
Lore Ramblings is also about, well,
And it's
the
more
lore.
fun for me. I'm a historian by inclination and desire.
Same. And Lore Ramblings like this also allow us to sometimes go off into tangents about Kazakhstan. So, you know.
Yeah, anyway, speaking of Kazakhstan, I think it's morning over there, so we'll leave
we
you
should.
that.
Yeah, well,
It's a
we'll
3.5
call it
hour
here.
thing. Apologies for that, viewers. I think
Well,
I mean, if you like
you
it,
needed
hey.
this. Yeah, you needed this much time to understand the depth of the civil wars that you'll be experiencing in this realm.
Yeah, because that's 2 centuries of pain. And
Yeah.
anyways, before I go, because this is something that Biggs always demands I do, I'm going to send an invite link into the chat for anyone who somehow joined in. And I've also given a temporary invite link to our Discord, since we do have one. I don't bring it up, sadly, that often. And next time we do Battletech, because I know that book sucks, because I was told ahead of time, a bit spoiled, we're going to do Capellan so that we just get it out of the way.
Yeah, the Capellan book is, in my opinion, the weakest.
So we're going to do it to get it out of the way. Originally, this was going to be afterwards, but I think this was a better way to just kind of get back into Battletech. That's not necessarily going to be next week. No idea what it is. It might be next week. It might be Dark Eras. We don't know.
Yeah, we still have a few more settings to go through for Dark Eras, and up next would be the Aztecs, which Always a fun time.
Those are fun. So with that in mind, we're gonna cut it down. We're cutting it down. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Sleep tight. Some things that bed bugs bite.